Hello everyone, today we are going to start a new topic, labor reforms. Labor reforms, okay. I have a question in my mind. Which list does this subject fall under? Does labor reforms come under union list, or do they come under, this is union list, let's say, and this is a state list. So do they fall under union list or do they fall under state list? They fall under concurrent list. So labor laws, they come under concurrent list, list 3. Okay. This talks about labor. Why? Or how can you memorize this? Because I already said you in the polity that concurrent list has subjects which are welfare oriented, like education, weights and measures, some other welfare oriented. They're all in the list 3. Okay. Now, 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 why we are discussing about labor reform? Simply putting, we used to have more than 47 central laws, and we used to have around 100 state laws. So these are all laws related to labor. Okay. So these are different laws. There's a lot of confusion if there are many laws. Therefore, we want to merge them under a single law. Okay. So therefore, we currently merge them into 4 laws. The first law talks about code on wages. The second talks about industrial relation code. Industrial relations ke baad, we might be talking about social security. So code on social security of the workers. And then the fourth code is about operational safety and health and working conditions. So wage के बारे में बात करेंगे. उसके बाद industrial relationship between employer and employee. Industrial relation code, worker का social security, and then उसका health, working condition, etc. So these are the 4 wages, so that we have merged these 47 central laws and 100 state laws into 4 codes. Okay, I think this much is clear. I'll tell you the background. So why did we merge like this? I mean, what is the necessary to merge them? Because there's a change in structure of the economy, and the old laws are getting relevant. Because see, the old laws, if I say, they are talking, I'll write neatly. I'll compare the old laws and new laws. The major change, why shift करना क्यों पड़ा? क्यों हमें shift करना पड़ा? Simple reason is that one thing, it's the nature, the structure of economy. The structure of economy, it is shifting, right? So earlier, our laws used to be based upon manufacturing, and that is why we even have Factories Act. But did we have Services Act? No, we did not have. And also, I mean, it is more likely like initially it used to be manufacturing focused. It's not service focused. And also, one thing is that there used to be misalignment. Misalignment in the sense, for example, let's say there is this company A, company B. Okay, if I make a policy for company A, company B might be hurted, or this company might get realized later that it is getting hurted. So there's a misalignment because there are a lot of laws which are in conflict with each other. For example, let's say this is company related to environment, and this is a company related to some manufacturing. So whenever I'm trying to boost consumption, I mean boost industries, etc., such kind of laws are there. So those kind of policies will affect environment, sustainable companies, right? So that is why, and they realize later that, oh, this law is affecting me. So you cannot parallelly take both of them together. So if there are multiple laws, this misalignment will definitely happen. And third, you can guess, right? I mean, yeah, us time pe manufacturing, and then old laws mein misalignment because there are many laws, a lot of confusion. And also you need to know that there's a automation shift. Automation shift implies, see, earlier government used to keep a lot of restriction. Lot of restriction implies government used to say, see, you are a factory, and if you are hiring more than 10 workers, you come under strict protection of labor laws. You come under strict protection of labor because you need to take care of laborers. You should not exploit them. Labor exploitation should be prevented at any cost. So all such kind of restriction used to be there. So companies, they try to restrict workers to less than 10 because उस time पे 10 workers के लिए strict regulations हुआ करते थे. So now what did the new labor law do? They just increased it to 20 so that this restriction will be reduced. So what is this automation shift? So for example, if you say company must have less than 10 workers, so companies are proceeding with 9 worker, and if they need extra 10 worker, what are they doing? They are buying machines. So it is leading to mechanization. So humans are being replaced with machines. So automation shift is happening. That is one of the reason why government wants to increase this limit. Government want to promote more employment. Government want to boost consumption expenditure. So अगर machines replace करेंगे तो लोगों को employment कहाँ से मिलेगा? That is why government did some changes in the labor laws. So there are certain, the new laws, they are little more flexible compared to the old laws, because earlier there used to be automation shift, there used to be misalignment definitely, and it was more likely manufacturing oriented rather than service oriented, क्योंकि उस टाइम पे हम उतना service oriented नहीं थे. और इस थर्ड पॉइंट को अगर एक और नाम देना चाहते हो, you can also call it as contractualization and assembly line. What does assembly line imply? It's the same meaning, okay? I mean, it's a little different meaning, or else I will go with the next point. We have contractualization, machinization. That will be our fourth point. Contractualization and mechanization, okay? Contractualization and mechanization, नहीं, assembly line बोलते हैं इसको. Contractualization, assembly line होता क्या है पता है? The same example only, a little different. For example, let's say earlier government put a restriction that if a company is more than having more than 100 people, let's say if a company is having more than 100 workers, then you will come under the stringent clause. You need to give social security, etc. So what did the company start doing? And they started hiring 95 workers, and the rest of the 5 workers they are contract-based workers. Contract-based workers, okay. We can call them as contract workers. Assembly line का मतलब पता है? Assembly line is nothing but mechanization. इस 5 वर्कर भी मुझे नहीं चाहिए। इस 5 वर्कर के साथ इस 5 वर्कर को मैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर के साथ रिप्लेस करूँगी या फिर मशीन्स के साथ रिप्लेस करूँगी, मैकेनाइजेशन। सो दैट्स द मीनिंग। This is what they used to think. So the first point is that they are mostly manufacturing oriented, not service oriented, and there is a misalignment. If let's say if a company A gets benefited, it will be a loss for company B. That is misalignment because there are many multiple laws and one law is getting in conflict with another. This is a second issue. Third issue is automation shift. The company, they are seeing that there is a lot of restriction. We want to go with the machines instead of workers. The automation shift. I can also rename it as contractualization or assembly line. And assembly line implies, let's say there is a stringent clause in a company. I mean, a company comes under stringent law if it is having more than 100 workers. Therefore, what they're doing, they're replacing certain number of workers with either machines or contract workers. If they do this, what's going to happen? Ultimately, employment generation will not be there. That is why government want to implement some flexible ease of doing business type of policies to the companies. I would like to ask you one more question, that is this not good? Machines, it's good, right? It will also boost GDP because ultimately we're having more. See, one machine is able to replace 100 laborers. Don't you think it's good? It is good, but it will ultimately lead to jobless growth. Okay. See, in UPSC, you need to use different phrases. Maybe you can write it as another point, jobless growth. Maybe you can put it as your fifth point, right? This will ultimately lead to jobless growth. See, if you write more number of keywords, na, that will be like, okay, you know very much of points, but all the points in the end, they are the same thing. Okay, yeah, let us brainstorm more points. Ki old laws में और क्या क्या problems हो सकता है? These are all something which we are brainstorming. I will ask you one more question. Not one more question. I'll tell you one more point because I know this. World Bank, it gave a comment actually. It said that Indian labor laws, they are rigid. This is what World Bank said. I think there was a good term, good phrase which World Bank used. What did World Bank say? It said that Indian labor laws, it said something. It said that India is a country with rigid labor laws. This is what World Bank said. I remember just now. India is a country with rigid labor laws. Yeah, I'll change this. India is a country with rigid labor laws. This is what World Bank said. That means, is this a good thing or bad thing? Rigid. This is not a good thing. World Bank is not praising us. What happens if you have rigid labor laws? See, you might be supporting workers, but at the same time, you will be making suffer. You might suffer the industries. See, you need to balance both the worker and at the same time industries. One cannot be high and one cannot be low. अगर industries अच्छे से काम नहीं कर पा रहे तो workers को wage क्या देंगे? तो balanced equation होना चाहिए. If labor laws are rigid, it will be a problem for us only. This will lead to reduced employment. This will decrease the employment. Simply putting, overprotection for workers, it started harming them. Government सोच रही कि चलो हम workers को protection दे रहे हैं. Actually वो over protection कर रही थी. That kept harming the workers in return. क्योंकि if industries are not working well, how can they give social security? Instead they started firing the workers because हमसे इतना burden नहीं होगा. So they are doing such kind of things. This happened. I will take an example. See, अगर मुझे कोई क्वेश्चन आता है यूपीएससी में, एक्सप्लेन द डिफरेंस, व्हाई, व्हाट इज द नेसेसिटी फॉर न्यू लॉस, आएंगे इस तरह के क्वेश्चन, तुम बोलोगे ये सारी चीजें मैं बताऊंगी. फिर एक और चीज भी बताऊंगी कि मतलब कंटेक्स्ट कहीं से भी शुरू कर सकते हैं हम. आई कैन ऑल्सो से दैट आई कैन ऑल्सो इलस्ट्रेट विद एन एग्जाम्पल. लेट्स टेक माइनिंग. If I take mining, it has a primary activity also, it has secondary activity also. But you only have one mining act. You don't have different laws. See, primary, it is associated with raw materials. Secondary, it is how you convert those raw materials into another products, and tertiary, service oriented related to mining, research and development, etc. So now, you have different activities under mining, but you are having only one act. So you need to have different set of laws, and the laws which are protecting the labor, they must be uniform, but the activity, they must be differentiated. This kind of problems kept happening. We are having too many parallel laws, and at the same time we are not having a uniform law. So now if let's say there's an employee, no, let's say there's a worker, he's working in mining. So does he fall under labor laws or mining act? Government says this worker will fall under mining act and rules for him will be different, right? Yeah, he must be actually, because it's a harmful activity. So harmful activities, see, this is a harmful activity. Harmful activities, they should not come under labor law. I think earlier it used to be under labor law. Now government says it is a harmful activity, so it must come under mining act. Or else can we take another example? Okay, I will take one more act, plantation act. Plantation act, okay. So plantation act also works similarly, that it doesn't come under labor law, it should come under plantation act, because there are some special activities. So these two are special activities. Got it? So special activities, they come under their own respective laws, they don't come under the labor law. Okay. मुझे लगता है मैं एक और पॉइंट ऐड कर सकती हूँ, मिसअलाइनमेंट। ओके, ये तो हो गया। और आई कैन से दैट देयर आर मेनी पैरेलल लॉज। डिड आई कवर इट एनीवेयर? ये ठीक है, तो फिर यहीं पे मैं ये लिखूंगी कि पैरेलल लॉज होता क्या है। पैरेलल लॉज simple, like similar example of environment and industry, where one law is in conflict with another. Or else see, let's say there's a factory, and with the power, without power, there are differences, right? You can write it as an example. मैंने बताया ना, यूपीएससी में हर एक चीज को डिफरेंट वे में लिखना होता है. See, in that way you can generate more points in different dimensions how you are able to write. In the end everything looks the same. So anyways, there are parallel laws. So there are different laws for factories with power and without power. So too many parallel laws are there. So why did I take factories for example for parallel laws? See, with power का पहले होता था 10 worker, without power का 20 worker, ऐसा कुछ. So they look same, but since you are distinguishing them, they are acting like side by side laws. This is what parallel laws. So parallel laws as exemption. So when you are having such rigid laws, now what's going to happen? There's one thing कि विद पावर के लिए एक अलग सी फैक्ट्री ला है, मतलब अलग सी बहुत सारी रूल्स है. विदाउट पावर जो वर्कर्स काम कर रहे हैं उसके लिए अलग अलग लेवल की रूल्स है. नाउ बिकॉज ऑफ दिस डिस्टिंग्विशन, it is creating a duplication problem, and it is confusing the business owners. It is confusing the business owners about the exact legal clutter. So what government is trying to say exactly. So there's a lot of confusion. Now to eradicate this confusion, we are having new labor laws, which are combined into 4 basic laws. One talks about the wage. The second talks about industrial relation. Third talks about first is about wage. Second is about industrial relation. Third is talking about third is talking about social security of the worker. And fourth, it is talking about operational safety, health and working condition. So these 4 things are there. ठीक है, अब पता लग गया, मतलब पता चल गया कि न्यू लेबर लॉज की जरूरत क्या है. एक बार रिवाइज कर लेते हैं. पहले मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, earlier we used to, I mean, see, there's a structural, हाई से इंट्रोडक्शन स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं कि India, it used to be a conservative economy. India used to be a conservative economy, but slowly there is a structural shift. Conservative economy matlab kya? We used to be manufacturing oriented, but there is a structural shift in the economy, and we slowly move towards services. That is why the old laws currently don't work, and we need new laws, new labor laws. And next, there is a misalignment. Due to multiple labor laws, there used to be a misalignment. Promoting a policy, I mean, incentivizing one company will hurt the other companies, right? We have seen it with an example of manufacturing and environment. And next, we have seen automation shift. For example, since there are more stringent laws, companies are moving towards contractualization and assembly line. So that is automation shift. They are moving more towards contractualization and assembly shift. And what is it leading towards? It is leading towards jobless growth. Got it? Jobless growth. और वर्ल्ड बैंक ने क्या बताई? वर्ल्ड बैंक ने ये बताया कि इंडिया, it is a country with rigid labor laws. What does rigid implies? Rigid implies it is reducing the employment. How is it reducing the employment? Because over protection of workers, it is hurting companies, and companies are moving again towards assembly lines and contractualization, and that is harming the workers, right? Because the employment for the workers, it is getting reduced. Okay, क्या India, it used to be a conservative economy, but due to structural shift, we are moving from manufacturing to service oriented. And next, incentivizing. There's a misalignment. That is, incentivizing one company is hurting the other company. And what's happening then? There's therefore automation shift. Automation shift because one company, let's say there is a stringent government policy, and that's why it is moving towards assembly line. That is, there's the automation shift. Therefore, they are moving towards contractualization and assembly line, where companies are feeling to hire more contract workers and replacing workers with machines. Mechanization is happening. And what is it leading towards? It is leading towards jobless growth, right? This is what we have discussed. What does jobless growth implies? There is a growth in economy, but the GDP, I mean the employment, it is getting reduced with the growing GDP. It will be a problem in the long term. Okay, तो इसके बाद क्या? वर्ल्ड बैंक ने ये भी बताया कि India is a country with rigid labor laws. We have already seen this. And next, we have also seen that there are certain special activities where they require their own separate laws. They should not come under labor laws. This is also what we have discussed. And we have also seen that there are many parallel laws. Special activities के बारे में और parallel laws के बारे में discuss किया हमने. So that's why we need uniform laws. This is the need for why we require new laws. Okay. Oh, चलो. अब हम बात करते हैं evolution of labor laws. Let us now discuss about the evolution of labor reform. So see, in any introduction, definitely I need to write the evolution of labor reforms. That will be my journalistic introduction in the mains. Okay, I will write that the history of Indian labor reforms, or else I will start with Indian labor reforms. Indian labor reforms evolved. कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो लेबर रिफॉर्म्स का, मेरा इंट्रोडक्शन यही रहेगा. इंडियन लेबर रिफॉर्म्स evolved from a protective colonial weapon. From a protective colonial weapon. हम किसको प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे थे? वर्कर्स को. From protective colonial weapon to into a इसको मैं और डिस्क्रिप्शन दूंगा. इंडियन लेबर रिफॉर्म्स evolved from protective colonial reforms. नहीं, डिस्क्रिप्शन नहीं दूंगा, बस स्टेटस बताऊंगी. इंडियन लेबर रिफॉर्म्स evolved from protective colonial weapon to tangled web of 100+ messy regulations. सेंट्रल लॉ से, स्टेट लॉ से, बहुत कुछ है. tangled web of 100+ messy regulations before finally being unified. Finally being unified into 4 modern codes. Right now we have 4 modern codes. So this is what I'm going to write in my introduction. Indian labor reforms evolved from protective colonial weapon into a tangled web of 100+ messy regulations before finally being unified into 4 modern codes. Okay, this is the story how Indian labor reforms evolved. For my idea, I want to know how they actually got evolved. See this. This is the British trap around 1881 to 1947. Before 1947, you can write. So before 1947, we had this act, Factories Act 1881. So under this Factory Act 1881, what British business owners used to do. See, basically British business owners, they pressed the parliament to pass this Factory Act of 1881. This act, it serves a secret purpose. What is that? इसमें सब कुछ अलाउड होती थी. इट अलाउड चाइल्ड लेबर, इट इंक्रीज द नंबर ऑफ वर्किंग आवर्स ऑफ इंडियन लेबर. तो ये सारे प्रोविजंस है सिर्फ इंडियंस के लिए, इंडियन लेबर के लिए. मतलब पार्लियामेंट ब्रिटिश लोगों के लिए कुछ लॉस है कि चाइल्ड लेबर नहीं होना चाहिए, वर्किंग आवर्स का एक लिमिट होती है, ये सब ब्रिटिश लेबरर्स के लिए है. So under this Factory Act 1881, they cut these provisions for the Indians so that they can get more benefit from the Indian laborers. Okay, this happened, and slowly as we reached 1918, we got some new laws. Like यहाँ पे कुछ laws आए थे. Workmen, उस time पे workmen, they used to call workmen, not worker. Workmen, is it uniform? No, it is more like women क्यों नहीं हो सकता? So they passed this Workmen Compensation Act. See, women, actually this vocabulary, they must be gender sensitive, but they used workmen as this normal casual word, and they said Workmen Compensation Act 1923, which prevented massive unorganized worker uprisings from disrupting the colonial profits. Okay, and also we have Trade Unions Act 1926, etc. So we had Trade Unions Act 1926, Workmen Compensation Act 23. So they brought a little reforms, but finally the socialist struggle, it started from 1947 to 1990. If you see from 1947 to 1990, good laws, like here you have Industrial Disputes Act. We had Industrial Disputes Act of 1947, and we also had Factories Act of 1948. So they are more reformist, like the rights of the workmen were extended under the new laws after the independence. Okay. तो सिमिलरली क्या हुआ, टाइम के साथ साथ गवर्नमेंट और लॉस पास करती गई, लाइक मैटरनिटी बेनिफिट्स एक्ट, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेबरर एक्ट, सीगर वर्कर एक्ट, साइन वर्कर एक्ट, मोटर ट्रांसपोर्ट एक्ट. यार कितने एक्ट्स आए पता है, हर चीज के लिए एक एक एक्ट. बहुत लॉस बन गए थे, बहुत एक्ट्स बन गए थे उसके बाद, तो बहुत मेसी हो गया ना यहीं पे. सो वी हैव रीच्ड वेब ऑफ messy regulations. Okay, by the late 20th century, India was trapped in a paper struggle completely. There were over 40 central laws and 200+ state laws. Approximately, you had 40 central laws. Or else I will make it more simple here. Approximately ये 1990 है ना, चलो इसको 1980 बना लेते हैं. ठीक है. So by the 1980, what happened, you were into terrible paper struggle. 1980 हो गया, यहाँ पे पूरा paper struggle आ गया. So there were around 1980, there were roughly around 47 central laws. Okay. And how many state laws approximately? I don't know if they are exactly 47, maybe more than 47 also. Around during 1980s, there were more than 47 central laws and 100 state laws. इतना paper struggle है 1980 तक आते आते ही. So this triggered the era of Inspector Raj. So this triggered the era of Inspector Raj. इसका मतलब क्या है? फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम अ फैक्ट्री मैनेजर एंड आई हैड टू मेंटेन डजन्स ऑफ सेपरेट रजिस्टर्स फॉर ईच एंड एवरी माइन्यूट सब्जेक्ट। सो देयरफॉर दिस विल आल्सो, इंस्पेक्टर राज का मतलब होता क्या है? ये इंस्पेक्टर ब्राइब मांगना, थ्रेटन करना शटडाउन के लिए, ऑपरेशंस के लिए, क्योंकि सी आई एम जस्ट I'm someone who is operating my business, but again this inspector is saying that you don't comply with this law, that law, falana dimkana law. So what's going to happen? Ultimately this bichara business man, he need to give money, a bribe to this inspector to satisfy him so that his business will continue. So that became the era of Inspector Raj. तो देखा कितनी प्रॉब्लम्स है मेसी रेगुलेशंस की वजह से। तो 1980 के बाद कौन सी पीरियड आती है? 1990 आ जाती है। वेयर टू राइट? सी दिस इज इंस्पेक्टर राज ना यहाँ पे। सो लेट्स से नाउ वी रीच इन 1990। 1990 इज अ पीरियड ऑफ एलपीजी रिफॉर्म्स, राइट? यहाँ पे क्या हुआ? ग्लोबलाइजेशन हो गया एंड यू नो दैट इंडियन इकोनॉमी इज ऑन द वर्ज ऑफ बैंकरप्ट एंड देयरफॉर वी अडॉप्टेड एलपीजी रिफॉर्म्स एंड द फॉरेन कंपनीज दे फ्लाइड इनटू इंडिया, राइट? एंड इंडिया लिटरली ग्लोबलाइज्ड। देन देयर इज अ फेमस एक्ट, इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट एक्ट। So that was launched around this period, Industrial Dispute Act. ये फेमस एक्ट क्या हुआ? इस फेमस एक्ट में इट सेड दैट इफ अ फैक्ट्री इज हैविंग मोर देन 100 वर्कर्स, इट cannot lay off it cannot lay off any labor or any worker without formal permission from the government. Then what did factories start doing? They started having 95 workers. अगर 100 से ज्यादा चाहिए तो उसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स बना लेंगे। 6 महीने के लिए मैं उसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दूंगा, उसको फायर करूंगा, फायर करने के बाद फिर से उसको रिहायर करूंगा, तो वो कभी भी मेरी कंपनी में परमानेंट एम्प्लॉय नहीं बनेगा। सो कंपनीज दे डिड अवॉइडेंस, लीगल अवॉइडेंस, इस तरह के मैकेनिज्म हुआ था एंड दे स्टॉप्ड हायरिंग परमानेंट वर्कर्स ऑल टुगेदर। एंड यू नो व्हाट हैपेंड नेक्स्ट? This act also pushed the workforce into unorganized sector. This pushed workforce, it pushed workforce into unorganized sector. That is why there are a lot of criticisms for this Industrial Dispute Act. On the one side, government thought of protecting the laborers, but actually it was harming. Overprotection led to harming. This is what we have discussed, right? Finally क्या हुआ? ये 1980, 1990 और कुछ डिस्कस करना है? Maybe we can see what happened in 2000 now, roughly around 2000 या फिर 2002। यहाँ पे क्या हो गया? See here, we passed Second National Commission on Labor. I mean, actually, this commission was appointed. Second National Commission on Labor. What did this commission do? Second National Commission on Labor, 2002. Okay, this is like a landmark. This is landmark because see here, you know the central laws, there are more than 47. So these 47 central laws, whatever are there, they got they got compressed into 29 central laws. Okay, so Second National Commission on Labor 2002, here what happened? It advised the government that see, you have lot of central laws, so stop adding more to your pile, clean your own house, just do the cleanup process. So what did government do? It did a 2-step cleanup process. इन्होंने बस इतना एडवाइस की it just advised. What did it advise? It advised to clean your own house. This is what it said. तो उसके लिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने क्या की? It did 2-step cleanup. So central government did a 2-step cleanup. So Second National Commission on Labor 2002, it recommended that you need to clean your own house, central government. इतना messy है, इतना कूड़ा नहीं चाहिए, clean up. That is what Second National Commission on Labor 2002 said. So therefore government adopted a 2-step cleanup process. 2-step cleanup process. तो यहाँ पे क्या हुआ? 47 फर्स्ट स्टेप, ये स्टेप 1 है, ये स्टेप 1 है। स्टेप 1 में क्या हुआ? 47 सेंट्रल लॉस दे गॉट मर्ज्ड इनटू 29। ओके, 29 कोर एक्टिव सेंट्रल लॉस। ओके, क्योंकि वो कॉलोनियल है, अभी इसका रिलेवेंस नहीं है, 2002 आ गया, दैट्स व्हाई दे गॉट मर्ज्ड इनटू 29 सेंट्रल लॉस। एंड अगेन व्हाट इज द स्टेप 2? इन द स्टेप 2 they were merged into 4 modern laws. This is what we were discussing, 4 modern laws. Finally, this is the 2-step cleanup process. 29 core laws were again melted down into 4 modern labor codes. तो लेबर कोड बताना लगे, मॉडर्न लेबर कोड बताना लगे। लेबर कोड्स तो बहुत सारे थे, लेकिन 29 सेंट्रल लॉज दे वर मर्ज्ड इनटू 4 मॉडर्न लेबर कोड्स। ओके, एंड यू नो द 4 मॉडर्न लेबर कोड्स, व्हाट आर दे? कोड ऑन वेजेस, इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन कोड, कोड ऑन वेजेस 2019, इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन कोड 2020, कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी 2020, OSH, ऑपरेशनल सेफ्टी हेल्थ एंड वर्किंग कंडीशन 2020। So these are the 4 labor codes. Okay, but you know यहाँ पे क्या हुआ? सिर्फ सेंट्रल लॉस कोड हो गए थे। These are the 29 central laws, 47 central laws. State laws का क्या हुआ? They are still messy. State laws are still messy. You need to remember these are only central laws. State laws के लिए क्या हुआ? Since labor is concurrent list, we currently have 4 modern labor codes for the center, and still we have that chaotic pile of 100+ labor code laws for the state. ओके, ये 100+ ऐसे की ऐसे ही है अभी भी। लेकिन एक चीज हुआ है कि इफ अ स्टेट वांट्स, इट कैन मर्ज इट्स लॉस इनटू सेंट्रल लॉस इफ अ स्टेट वांट। मोस्टली स्टेट नहीं करेगी ऐसे, क्योंकि खुद का इंडिपेंडेंस नहीं रहेगा, ब्रेवरी नहीं कर पाएंगे, तो स्टेट्स नहीं करेंगे ये सब, ये सारी चीजें, ठीक है। लेकिन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने करके दिखाए। ओके, या दैट्स ऑल। Now the center, it just said, see, we have compressed our 47 laws into 29 and finally into 4 codes. Now it's your turn, states. You need to modify your 100+ laws to match our standards. Eliminate your junk and merge them completely into our 4 codes. This is what central government said, and it also said that we must all together speak in one common voice. Okay. तो क्या हुआ होगा अभी, करंट सिचुएशन क्या होगा लेबर कोड्स को लेके? सी करंटली ना सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट पुट अ डेडलाइन इनिशियली, इट वाज इन द मंथ ऑफ नवंबर 2025, वो डेडलाइन दी। एंड कुछ स्टेट्स है ना, they have rewritten their original laws, and they said that we are okay with our own laws. So this is currently a breathing political drama, and now that is what is happening. Okay. Now let us discuss each and every law. Okay, there are 4 codes. Now we'll discuss 4 codes briefly. Over. For example, if they ask me in UPSC, if they ask a specific question on code on wages 2019, I need to know what are the provisions under it, etc. Right? So those and all we'll discuss. See, first I will write an introduction. Simply, I'll say that. See, initially we used to have more than 47 central laws, and we used to have more than 47 central laws and 100+ state laws. They used it to define the definition of wage differently. So therefore, what happened? Definitely, it is not uniform, which is not uniform. Hence, we Indian government, what did it do? It integrated the relevant laws. Indian government, it merged, integrated. Yes, a common हो गया ना? It merged these laws into. It merged relevant laws. Use this relevant laws. It merged all the relevant laws into a single code on wages. Okay, that's all. This is simple. What did it do when it merged? Implication, right? Some implications also in the introduction. Merged it to promote. What did it promote? It promoted uniformity. यहाँ पे uniformity नहीं है, तो यहाँ पे uniformity है. Uniformity है, simplicity है, और जो लिखना है वो लिख सकते हो, और larger compliance mechanism है अभी, and reduce the inspector raj and other things, etc. So whatever you feel it is suitable, you can write it in the introduction. This is how you phrase an introduction. Okay. Uh, how do you start it? More than 47 central laws and 100+ state laws used to define the definition of wage differently, which is not uniform in nature, and therefore central government, it has integrated the relevant laws into code on wages to promote uniformity, simplicity, and greater compliance. Okay, this is what I write in the introduction basically, and I'll say that there are certain provisions for the code on wages, because that might be the question, so you need to know that there are certain provisions. So if I see broadly, there are 3 provisions. Okay. What are the 3 provisions? We basically have 3 codes: wage reforms, regulations, and governance. Wage reforms. So if they're asking me the provisions, code on wage का provisions, तो मैं एक simple triangle draw करूंगी, बोलूंगी कि simply बताऊं तो we have 3 provisions mainly. One is wage reforms है इस code में, and it also talks about regulation of wages and governance. अगर कोई dispute होता है तो. So wage reforms मतलब see, I'll also draw this diagram. Maybe in one point I can explain with the diagram, right? I can draw like this, and I can say that we have a floor wage. We also have minimum wage, universal minimum wage. होता क्या है? See, the center defines the floor wage as minimum standard of living. And what is universal wage? It is to suit the job requirements. It may be geographical, risk, or nature of job oriented. सिंपली बताओ तो सी वेज के रिलेटेड है ना, तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ये बताएगी एक मिनिमम फ्लोर वेज होना चाहिए टू फुलफिल द बेसिक नेसेसिटीज ऑफ द इंडिविजुअल, सो दैट ही कैन हैव अ मिनिमम स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग. इट कैन बी फूड, हेल्थ, इनके ये बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स फुलफिल होना चाहिए एक इंसान को, इतना ये तो मिनिमम फ्लोर वेज होना चाहिए हर इंसान के लिए. दिस इज व्हाट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट सेड इन इट्स कोड ऑन वेजेस, एंड देयर इज यूनिवर्सल मिनिमम वेज आल्सो. दिस फ्लोर वेज, it is fixed by the central government. But there is universal minimum wage. So this varies based upon geographical condition, based upon the skill set that a job requires, etc. So job requirements के according ये vary होते हैं. For example, if you are an IFS officer, you are posted in a hostile country, then government will give you more wages definitely, right? Yeah, it must give you more foreign allowance. So as per the accommodation, I mean as per the, so based upon job requirements it changes ना. तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट या फिर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट कोई भी एक डिसाइड करेगा. इट कैन बी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. फॉर एग्जांपल, आई एम डूइंग अ लोकल जॉब, सो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट नोस मी बेटर कि मिनिमम वेज क्या होना चाहिए, बिकॉज लेट्स से आई एम वर्किंग इन अ हिली एरिया, राइट? नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स दे नो वेरी वेल कि इतना तो मिनिमम वेज होना चाहिए, ये तो बहुत रिस्की एरिया है, फिर भी ये वर्कर काम कर रहा है, तो इनके लिए फ्लोर वेज काफी नहीं है, कुछ एक्स्ट्रा चाहिए होता है. ओके, दिस इज व्हाट दिस इज द फर्स्ट प्रोविजन अंडर द वेज रिफॉर्म्स. ओके, so central government defines floor wage and universal minimum wage based upon the risk, nature of job, etc. And then गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो सेज दैट देयर मस्ट बी जेंडर पैरिटी इन वेजेस. एक और चीज है कि जेंडर पैरिटी. फर्स्ट प्रोविजन इट डिफाइंस दिस, एंड सेकंड थिंग इज द जेंडर पैरिटी इन वेजेस. देयर मस्ट बी जेंडर पैरिटी इन वेजेस. फीमेल के लिए अलग सा वेज, मेल के लिए अलग सा वेज, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. ओके. ओके. एंड नेक्स्ट लेट अस सी व्हाट गवर्नमेंट टॉक्स अबाउट रेगुलेशन. ओके. इट सेज दैट टाइमली पेमेंट होना चाहिए. ये तो मिनिमम है हर चीज में. टाइमली पेमेंट होना चाहिए. और क्या, टाइम के साथ साथ पेमेंट करना चाहिए. और अगर मैं ओवर टाइम काम करती हूँ, फॉर ओवर टाइम माई वेज रेट मस्ट बी 2 times the daily wage rate. I mean 2 times the daily wage rate. I mean for example 2 times the original wage. ये सही है. मतलब let's say per hour I earn 200. So I work 8 hours per day. So 16 hours, I mean 1600 rupees I must receive per day, right? But if I am working, let's say 2 hours more, let's say I'm working for 10 hours today. So the extra 2 hours that I'm working, then that time my wage will be not 200, it is 2 times 200, which is 400. So I will be receiving 8 2s are 16 plus 400, which is 2000 for if I work for 10 hours. Okay, so that is what the government has fixed. Okay. रेगुलेशन भी हो गया. अब गवर्नेंस पे जाते हैं. So here in the governance, we are talking mainly about the inspector. Okay. Inspector has to perform dual role. ये inspector जो भी है, he has to perform dual role. What is that? Inspector. Governance, basically inspector here has a dual role. So he has to perform. First role क्या है? Inspector क्या करेगा? Inspection करेगा. This is the first role of the inspector. And the second role is to increase the awareness. Increase the awareness. क्या awareness? लेबर को खुद नहीं पता है इसके पास इतनी राइट्स है अभी, एंड एम्प्लॉयर को खुद नहीं पता है लेबर को इतना राइट्स देना चाहिए. सो इंस्पेक्टर ही also promotes awareness and education to the employer and employee of a company, and also he facilitates the process of inspection. तो इनके पास एक ड्यूअल रोल है. और दूसरा क्या है गवर्नेंस में? गवर्नेंस में एक और चीज भी है कि पनिशमेंट्स के बारे में भी बात करते हैं. सम फर्स्ट टाइम ऑफेंस शुड बी इन्फ्लिक्टेड विद मॉनिटरी पनिशमेंट्स. सी यहाँ पे इफ यू डू अ फर्स्ट टाइम ऑफेंस, या फिर ऐसे लिखते हैं. See, if it is your first time offense, then there will be a monetary penalty up to 1 lakh, maybe around up to 1 lakh. And Supreme Court it came with a judgment that if let's say this is within 5 years only. I mean Supreme Court said, see, within 5 years if you repeat that offense again next time, ये 5 years के अंदर अंदर अगर एक और बार तुम यही offense repeat करते हो, if it is a repeated offense within 5 years, repeated offense, उससे क्या होगा? Repeated offense मतलब legal punishment. Legal punishment implies it cannot be compromised. That is, it is compoundable. Sorry, not compoundable. Not compoundable. It is not compoundable. Compoundable मतलब can be compromised by giving money, etc. Non-compoundable मतलब क्या है? Non-compoundable मतलब it cannot be compromised. Okay, it is non-compoundable. If it is a repeated offense. So in the governance, you are having two things. One is inspector will be there, who plays a dual role. One is inspection and other is to promote education and awareness to both the employer and employee about the rights a worker must get. And if an employer does an offense, मतलब ये floor wage से नीचे wage देता है, that is an offense, right? So he must give a monetary penalty of 1 lakh. And if he repeats the same offense within 5 years, if it is repeated offense, then he is legally viable. I mean, legal punishment can be given to him, and it is non-compoundable in nature. मतलब ये monetary penalty नहीं हो पाएगा. If it is within 5 years. देखना यहाँ पे एक लूप होल है. 5 years के बाद अगर मैं इस ऑफेंस को रिपीट करती हूँ एज एन एम्प्लॉयर, तो ये फर्स्ट टाइम ऑफेंस हो जाएगा ना. 5 साल के बाद एक और बॉक्स शुरू हो जाएगा. यहाँ पे तो मैंने रिपीट नहीं किया. ये 5 years के बाद ये फिर से फर्स्ट टाइम ऑफेंस आएगा, तो तब मैं लीगल पनिशमेंट मुझे नहीं मिलेगा. तब तो मैं मुझे सिर्फ मॉनिटरी पेनल्टी मिलेगी. सो दैट दिस इज अ लीगल लूप होल इन द code on wages. Okay. So I think you understood the code on wages. Earlier we used to have different wage definitions because there are many laws, but now they are integrated into code on wages. And the major provisions are wage regulations, which defines floor wage and universal minimum wage, and it also promotes gender parity in wages. And next you have regulation and governance. Wage rate के बाद regulation and governance क्या है? Timely payment over time. 2 times the wage rate. Of course देखना, रेगुलेशन मतलब वेज का रेगुलेशन में क्या हो सकता है? एक तो टाइम पे मुझे पेमेंट मिलना चाहिए, और वेज रेट अगर मैं ओवर टाइम करता हूँ तो डबल वेज रेट होना चाहिए. एंड गवर्नेंस कौन फैसिलिटेट करेगा? एक इंस्पेक्टर फैसिलिटेट करेगा. अगर मैं कोई ऑफेंस करता हूँ तो फर्स्ट टाइम के लिए मॉनिटरी विद इन 5 years, अगर रिपीट करता हूँ तो लीगल पनिशमेंट. ओके. आई फॉरगॉट टू टेल यू वन इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोविजन. एक्चुअली मुझे लगता है ये 2 होना चाहिए और ये 3 होना चाहिए, और 1 होना चाहिए ना वेज का डेफिनेशन. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है. वेज रेट में ना फर्स्ट होता है पहला वेज का डेफिनेशन. व्हाट इज वेज? इट इज बेसिक पे प्लस डेयरनेस अलाउंस प्लस रिटेनिंग अलाउंस प्लस एडजस्टमेंट फैक्टर. डेयरनेस अलाउंस सी बेसिक पे कितना होना चाहिए? कंपनी की मर्जी कितना चाहिए उतना. लेट्स से माय टोटल पैकेज इज 1 lakh. लेट मी से दैट माय बेसिक पे इज 30,000. what is dearness allowance? To accommodate with the inflation. Let's say I'm living in a metro city, यहाँ पे prices महंगे है, मतलब of course it's costly. So accordingly, I will be given a dearness allowance to adjust with the inflation. So this is to adjust with inflation. And what is retaining allowance? Let's say I'm working in a company. Okay. I'm working in a company and suddenly my skills are an asset for the company. Let's say without my coding skills, this company cannot even survive. So company want to retain me in the same place. But there is some, or else let's take a scenario where there's a temporary shutdown because suddenly कोई inspector आके raid करने आ गया. So, temporarily company want to shut down. But again, company invested a lot to train its employees, to train its workers. So they don't want these workers to resign and go to a new company just because of the temporary shutdown. So for that, the company will provide retaining allowance. So if there is any temporary shutdowns, they can live on their own. So to retain employees, we are having this retaining allowance and adjustment factor. See, basic pay, let's say my package is 1 lakh. Out of 1 lakh, company decided basic pay 30,000 दूंगी, बाकी सब हाउस रेंट अलाउंस में डाल दूंगी. ऐसे करूंगी. Why company do these kind of things? See, we have social benefits like pension fund, provident fund, etc. So provident fund, let's say it is 12%. Company must give 12% of what? It's not 12% of the total package. It is 12% of the basic pay. So company, if it decreases this basic pay, of course it will add less amount to provident fund. And when I retire I will get less amount of pension, because I realized that despite my wage being 1 lakh, the basic pay is only 30,000. So when company calculated provident fund, the fund which got allotted after retirement, it is very low, right? So these kind of things are being done by the company. So that's why government said that basic pay must be adjusted according to the adjustment factor. And what does this adjustment factor do? See, my package is 1 lakh 1 lakh per month. So government says that you need to provide extra 20,000. So actually my basic pay should not be 30K. It must be 50% of my total package. And accordingly, whatever amount is left, that must be the adjustment factor. So 50% of 1 lakh, it is how much? 50,000. So basic pay, if company is saying 30,000, certain adjustment factor, let's say, must be added to make total to 50,000. So basic pay accordingly will be 20K. So this is what government said, how a definition of wage must look. And a wage rate, it also defines universal minimum wage and floor wage. Floor wage provides minimum standard of living and fixed by the central government. Universal minimum wage, it talks about the job requirements. It can be provided by both central government and state government. And third, we have gender parity in wages. This provision is also given under the wage regulation. नॉट वेज रेट, वेज रेट में 3 प्रोविजन है, रेगुलेशन में 3 प्रोविजन है. कि पहले रेगुलेशन में क्या है, वेज टाइमली पेमेंट होना चाहिए. अगर ओवर टाइम काम करती हूँ तो मुझे डबल का ओरिजिनल वेज रेट मिलना चाहिए. एंड गवर्नेंस, इंस्पेक्टर फैसिलिटेट करेगा. ही प्लेस अ ड्यूअल रोल. वन इज इंस्पेक्शन एंड अदर इज टू प्रमोट अवेयरनेस एंड एजुकेशन. एंड सेकंड इज फर्स्ट टाइम ऑफेंस. अगर ये एम्प्लॉयर फर्स्ट टाइम कोई लेबर राइट के खिलाफ कोई ऑफेंस करता है तो मॉनिटरी पेनल्टी तो देना पड़ेगा. आई थिंक अप्रोक्सीमेटली 1 लाख. बट इफ इट इज अ रिपीटेड ऑफेंस विद इन दैट सेम 1 year, ही विल गेट अ लीगल पनिशमेंट एंड इट इज नॉन कॉम्पाउंडेबल इन नेचर. Matlab it cannot be compromised with money. Okay, now let us discuss industrial relation code. This is how I study code on wages. Okay, now industrial relation code. See, अभी industrial relation code का प्रोविजंस के बारे में मान लेना कि यूपीएससी ने क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया. So what should be my introduction? Can I just write the same introduction? There are around more than 47 central laws and around 100 plus state laws, and they are having different industrial. No, I cannot, because the laws might not be related to industries, right? So they define industrial relations differently. No, I cannot say that. Okay, let me think a little bit more. I will come up with introduction of generally हुआ क्या है, context क्या है. उसके बाद मैं बताऊंगी कि एक सिंगल इंडस्ट्रियल कोड की रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है. फॉर एग्जांपल, आई विल राइट इट इन 2 lines which might be good. See, listen, I'll just say that there are around, so roughly नहीं, ये है 29 central laws. कि डेटा के साथ मैं स्टार्ट कर सकता हूँ. So I can start I can start with the data, but I personally feel it might not be good. I will start like this. Government simplified 29 central laws. Government simplified 29 central laws into 4 labor codes. I'll say what everyone knows, that government simplified 29 central labor laws. 29 central labor laws into 4 labor codes. So I'll just say that government simplified 29 central labor laws into 4 laws, and I'll say that IRC, in light of it, IRC, Industrial Relation Code, which is a component of one of the component of 4 labor laws. It simplifies laws related to, ये भी simplify करती है. It simplifies laws related to trade union and conditions of employment in an industry, conditions of employment in industries, settlement and disputes. इन सारे चीजों को ये एक सिंप्लीफाइड मैकेनिज्म प्रोवाइड करती है. सो इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशंस 2020 का प्रोविजंस पूछा यूपीएससी में, तो आई विल से दैट government simplified 29 labor laws into 4 modern codes, and in light of it, industrial relation codes, which is one of the component of the 4 modern labor codes, simplifies provisions related to trade union, conditions of employment in industry, settlements and disputes, etc. तो ऐसे बना के मैं provisions को explain करूंगी. provisions. I will explain provisions through a quadrilateral diagram. I'll first talk about the definitions, etc. And next, I mean, क्या-क्या definitions given है इस code में, इसके बारे में बात करते हैं हम. And then I will talk about trade unions and strike. That will be the second component. Trade unions, strikes, इनके बारे में भी industrial relation code में कुछ information given है, इसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे. And then we will talk about what worker welfare, workers welfare. Maybe that will be the third component which we can write here. Workers welfare. This is very important, right? In an industry must definitely ensure the welfare of the worker. And the last component will be the dispute resolutions. Okay, so what are all the provisions related to definition in the industrial relation codes? क्या-क्या definitions given in industrial relation code में? See, you know, earlier what do we call? We used to call workmen. So do you think this word workman is gender neutral? No, it's not gender neutral, right? The earlier concept of workman, it has been therefore replaced by a gender neutral term worker. अब हम वर्कमैन नहीं बुलाएंगे, हम वर्कर बुलाएंगे. ओके, earlier concept of workman has been replaced with worker, and currently worker, he was given a definition also. Who is a worker? A worker is any person. A worker is any person employed in an industry. इतना तो clear है, of course. A worker is any person who is employed in an industry to do, employed in an industry to do what? That is important. He can do manual work or he can do skilled technical work. ये भी कर सकता है, ठीक है. To do manual, technical, skilled, unskilled, skilled and unskilled, manual, technical. And then what else can you think of? Operational, clerical मतलब correcting the errors, error correction वाला काम. For example, my manager, he doesn't want to take care of all the errors in a file, so he just handovers it to me so that the final file will not have any error. So I will just do that clerical work, and then I will return the file to my manager. Okay, that's a clerical work which should also be counted under working. And then we have supervisory activities. Supervisory activities. For example, let's say I am supervising my juniors who are below me, but I'm not giving any special wage for that. So maybe I was being given more wage because I'm supervising. So all such things also come. And sales. Now recently government has added sales and journalist. These two are important. So whenever you write a worker definition, also write a sales and journalist. They might be contract worker. See, company want to do sales of a certain product in a college. They might hire certain people on the basis of a contract for 2 months or 2 days. It can also be for 2 days, but still they are a worker of a company. So that is also included. Sales, journalist, it is included. So who is a worker? A worker is any person employed in an industry to do manual, skilled, technical or unskilled, operational, clerical, or even supervision, sales, including sales, journalist, for what? For getting a reward by the employer. Got it? For a hire or reward. This is what government has said. Hire मतलब लिविंग, जॉब, लाइवलीहुड के लिए. रिवॉर्ड मतलब सैलरी के लिए. ओके, तो गवर्नमेंट ने पहले वर्कर का डेफिनेशन बता दी कि एनी पर्सन हु इज एम्प्लॉयड इन इंडस्ट्री टू डू मैनुअल, स्किल, टेक्निकल, अनस्किल, ऑपरेशन, क्लरिकल, सुपरविजन, सेल्स, जर्नलिस्ट फॉर हायर और रिवॉर्ड. ओके, दिस इज द फर्स्ट डेफिनेशन. और यू नो व्हाट, गवर्नमेंट आल्सो गेव सम मोर डेफिनेशंस. और क्या डेफिनेशन दी गवर्नमेंट? वर्कर का डेफिनेशन दी और इंडस्ट्री का डेफिनेशन भी दे दी. व्हाट इज एन इंडस्ट्री? इंडस्ट्री इंप्लाइज सिस्टमैटिक एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉई, systematic employer employee relation. That's it. This is the industry. Systematic employer employee relationship is industry or industry relationship. Okay, or I can also write systematic industrial relation between, systematic relation between employer, employee and workers is called an industry. पता है इसमें एम्प्लॉई का डेफिनेशन अलग से गिवन है और वर्कर का डेफिनेशन अलग से गिवन है. मैं वर्कर के डेफिनेशन के बाद आई वुड लाइक टू टेल द डेफिनेशन ऑफ एम्प्लॉई ऑल्सो. या इंडस्ट्री का डेफिनेशन थर्ड में लिखते हैं, पहले हम एम्प्लॉई और वर्कर के बीच में डिफरेंस क्या है ये देखते हैं. सी, एम्प्लॉई is worker plus management. Matlab, it will give a holistic definition. For example, let's what is the difference between a employee and a worker? That's my question. See, there's a worker who is working with the job, whatever task I have given, but there's an army personnel whom I am giving a job. I want him to do technical job. At the same time, I want him to use his commanding skills to manage my company. In case if there is any trade union that is planning to do a strike against my company, or in such scenarios, what can I do? This army personnel, whoever I hired, he will not only do his technical job, but he will also involve in the management, right? So worker plus management together, it is called employee. Okay. We have definition of worker, we have employee, we have industry. Industry ka definition, systematic relationship between employee and workers. So as we have seen the 3 types of definitions, now let us look into trade union and the इसके related देख लेते हैं. चलो क्या है इसमें? See, earlier also you used to have certain provisions regarding trade union and the regulation of trade union, so they just got continued, and you have some सर्टेन वर्ड्स लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल ट्रेड यूनियन का कोई रिप्रेजेंटेटिव होना चाहिए ना, वो होगा। अभी देखना, अगर कोई भी एक यूनियन, ये यूनियन में अगर नंबर ऑफ मेंबर्स, टोटल नंबर ऑफ मेंबर्स, लेट्स से दिस अ बिग कंपनी, इन दिस बिग कंपनी व्हाट्स हैपनिंग, there's only 20% that I'm considering. So if only 21% are forming a union, then such kind of union is called negotiating council. Council छोटी amount है. So if it is just greater than 21%, if it is just greater than 21%, it is called negotiating क्या, council. ठीक है, एक काउंसिल मतलब थोड़ा छोटा, if it is greater than 21%. But if it is greater than 51%, 51, more than 51% of your company are forming a union, then such union, it's very big. So it is called negotiating union. Okay, that's called negotiating union. So the representative of this negotiating council or negotiating union is going to talk with the company regarding any strike or mass bunk that they're going to do in the future. Okay, I'll tell you what they're going to do. Okay, this place, fine. So it also talked about strike. It also talked about mass bunk. What's the difference between strike and a mass bunk? See, strike matlab workers together are doing a strike. Okay, it is a basically a mass casual leave. But for doing such a mass casual leave, na, you need to give a 14-day prior notice. See, you're basically doing a mass casual leave and protesting against a company. Strike कर रहे हो, धरना कर रहे हो, तो इन सारी चीजों के लिए government is saying, okay, you can do strike. It is included in our industrial relation code, but you should give a 14-day prior notice to the company. 14-day prior notice to the company owner or the boss, because boss also must know the reason behind why you are doing. So this notice must also have some reasoning. Why is the strike is being done exactly? The reason must be known. 14 days prior only. And that's one important thing that they have included. And they said that mass bunk. See, strike is different from mass bunk. Mass bunk implies workers, all of them together, they planned that let's do a mass bunk. कंपनी को पता नहीं चलेगा, वैसे कंपनी हमें वेजेस नहीं दे रही है, तो हम मास बंक कर लेते हैं, क्या होगा दिक्कत? तो ऐसे करने पे भी अब गवर्नमेंट ये बोल रही है कि even if you want to do a mass bunk, you need to give a 14-day prior notice. Okay, this is what government said. Mass bunk is also called a strike now. Okay, mass bunk, it is called as illegal strike, but it is also a strike. If you want to do illegal strike, na, for that you should give a 14-day prior notice. If you don't give 14 days prior notice for this illegal strike, na, then you may be legally punishable. That is what government is saying. So that is technically illegal. You must give a 14-day prior notice. Got it? One more important thing is that see, even before negotiating to form a council or union, this is for negotiating ना, लेकिन negotiating करने से पहले registration तो करना चाहिए, ये बन जाएगा ना पहला वाला clause. So first clause under this union and strike would be कि how you are registering, registration or recognition, तो इसके लिए qualification है, you must have minimum 7 workers, ये तो minimum bare minimum है, और 10% minimum of 7 work, minimum of नहीं बता रहे, minimum तो 7 होना ही चाहिए, but the main thing is you need to check minimum of 10% और 100 workers. ये तो क्वालिफिकेशन है, रजिस्ट्रेशन के लिए क्वालिफिकेशन रहेगी, क्वालिफिकेशन यही है कि मिनिमम 7 वर्कर्स, मतलब देखना, लेट्स से माय कंपनी इज हैविंग ओनली 50 वर्कर्स, तो 10% ऑफ 50 क्या हो गया, 5 वर्कर्स हो गया, लेकिन 5 वर्कर्स इट इज लेस देन 7, तो मैं बताऊंगी कि रजिस्ट्रेशन के लिए 7 चाहिए, लेकिन 10% करूंगी तो मुझे आ रहा है 10, सो यू आर नॉट एलिजिबल. आई विल से दिस मिनिमम 10% या फिर 100 वर्कर्स, इन दोनों में से एक नंबर मिनिमम होना चाहिए. और अगर ये 7 वाला कंडीशन को सेटिस्फाई नहीं करती है, देन दे कैन नॉट बी रजिस्टर्ड एज अ ट्रेड यूनियन. विदाउट रजिस्टरिंग हाउ कैन यू डू नेगोशिएटिंग यूनियन और काउंसिल? यूनियन बनने के लिए 51% चाहिए, लेकिन अगर आपके ट्रेड यूनियन के अंदर 51% की स्ट्रेंथ नहीं है, यू कैन फॉर्म अ छोटा वाला यूनियन, दैट इज नेगोशिएटिंग काउंसिल, which mandates around 20%. Okay, so first thing is that you need to register, you need to have minimum qualification, 10 minimum of 10% or 100% workers, and then you can start negotiating. You can form a negotiating council or negotiating union, and accordingly you can go for strike or mass bunk. Okay, strike is a casual leave, but for that you need to give a 14-day prior notice with a reason to your employer. And if you want to do a mass bunk, which is also illegal strike, for that also government is saying you need to definitely give a 14-day prior notice. Okay, let us see industrial relation code में worker welfare के लिए क्या क्या किया होगा. One thing I know is that बहुत कुछ किया है. फर्स्ट मेजर थिंग इज दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स. देखना, ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स के लिए सोशल सिक्योरिटी बेनिफिट्स कुछ भी नहीं रहती है. सो नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड इज दैट इफ अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर इज वर्किंग इन अ कंपनी फॉर मोर देन 1 year, देन ही मस्ट रिसीव his wages must be in parity. His wages must be in parity with the regular workers. Parity मतलब क्या क्या मिल सकता है उसको? gratuity and wages. Gratuity and wages they must be in similar with regular worker. Okay, regular worker. This is first thing कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर को लेके. चलो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर वेलफेयर हो गया, अब और क्या बताइए वर्कर वेलफेयर को लेके. सी यू नो, इफ यू टर्मिनेट, आई एम एन एम्प्लॉयर, इफ आई टर्मिनेट एन एम्प्लॉई, देन वेयर विल ही गो? he need to train himself. I mean इसको skill improvement चाहिए ना, हर company का skill requirements अलग होता है. If I work in a company A, if I suddenly retrench my employee, he need to go for looking for a new job in some company B, but that company B requires a certain new skill set for which he need to take a separate training, skill training to get hired in that new company. So for that also government is saying before you retrench your employee, you need to give him benefits. If a worker is terminated, or retrenched from his position, then government is saying that he must be given reskill amount. Reskill amount नहीं, वो होता है ना कुछ amount, शायद reskill amount ही है. Reskill amount, he must be given reskill amount. And this reskill amount, it must be around 50% of his wage. That means 15 days wage. Or this is same as 50% of his wage, right? महीने में 30 days होता है, तो 50% of his wage. So this reskill amount must be credited to him within 45 days. Must be credited within 45 days. Got it? This is about reskill amount. तो पता चल गया दो मेन चीजें वर्कर वेलफेयर के रिलेटेड. देखना अब हर कोड में एक चीज तो कॉमन है कि डिस्प्यूट आया तो क्या हो जाएगा, वो कॉम्पोनेंट तो होना चाहिए. सो इन द इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन कोड आल्सो वी हैव, see for example these whatever rules we have discussed, they are not followed and there are disputes. So where should anyone approach to? They are going to approach a two-member tribunal, two-member dispute resolution tribunal. और ये 2 member कौन होंगे? One is of course judicial officer and another is an administrative officer. ये 2 लोग होंगे, ये 2 लोग एडमिनिस्टर करेंगे. ओके, एंड नेक्स्ट इज हर चीज के लिए अब इनको लीगल पनिशमेंट मिल जाएगा क्या? हर छोटी चीज के लिए नहीं मिलेगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल if you feel that it is just a minor offense, then monetary penalty is okay. You don't need to give him a big punishment. Monetary penalty is okay. चलो अब मैं सोचती हूँ कि हाँ, एक बार ये चीज हो गया, एक डिस्प्यूट हो गया. इस डिस्प्यूट में वुमेन लोग बोल रहे हैं कि सी दे आर सेइंग मेन हरासमेंट, मेन बॉस, they are making us do overtime work. They are not allowing us to leave office even if it's 7 p.m. in the night, which is not a safe environment for women to stay till late night. Then what's going to happen? That woman went to dispute resolution mechanism, but all the board members, they are men. If these people are men, how can they provide justice to a woman? They will not do. They will support men only. Therefore this code also says that the grievance committee must have women representation proportionally. So there's a grievance committee also here. There's a grievance committee, and this grievance committee must have women representation proportionally. Okay, and one more thing is that if a company size is more than 300 workers, it must take government permission to terminate. यहीं पे लिख लेती हूँ वर्कर वेलफेयर का थर्ड पॉइंट. If a company has more than 300 workers, if the company has more than 300 workers, याद रखना मुश्किल है थोड़ा सा. If a company has oh shit, क्या हो रहा है? If a company has more than 300 workers, then it needs to get government permission. It needs a government permission to terminate. It needs a government permission to terminate worker. Okay. Now I think the provisions of the industrial relation code are clear. Firstly, it talks about 3 definitions. One is the worker, next employee, and next industry. And next it talks certain provisions related to trade union and strike. पहले इसका registration का requirement, and then negotiating के लिए negotiating council और union का strength कितना होना चाहिए, और वो लोग क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, उसके लिए कितने दिन का prior notice required होता है, 14 days का. And then trade union strike ठीक है. And industrial relation code इसके बारे में बात करती है, worker welfare related को लेके. It says that if a contract worker work for more than 1 year, he needs to receive gratuity and wages in parity with a regular worker. And it also says that if a person is retrenching or terminating a worker, then he needs to, I mean, if a company is terminating someone, of course, he also needs certain welfare measures, like he must get a reskill amount that must be equal to 15-day wage or 50% of his monthly wage, whatever it is. And then if a company is having more than 300 workers of size, then even if you want to retrench or terminate, you need to first take, I mean, if you want to do a layoff, government permission is required. Okay. And then dispute resolution. Dispute resolution का बहुत simple है. That is the last and final in any code. If there is any dispute, the members must, I mean, the people, whoever are in the dispute, they must go to a 2-member tribunal consisting of a judicial member and an administrative member. And for minor offences, the tribunal is only going to charge a monetary penalty. And for major, maybe some legal punishment will be there. And there's a grievance committee also. That grievance committee must have women representation proportionately, so that if any woman comes with a problem, they are provided with gender justice. Okay, these are all the things. Now let us see the next code. The third code is Code on Social Security. Code on Social Security 2020. That's the third code. See, I could go with a journalistic introduction, like maybe there are more than 47 central laws and 100 plus state laws. Together, they have merged. Initially, there used to be many laws, but now they're integrated, and that kind of intro, na, it will not suit for social security. Maybe so for social security, I would like to just say that around 29 central laws they got merged into four modern labor codes, which has extended a social security to all the workers. I can say this. Maybe I can say code on social security, na. I can say that around 29 central laws, they got merged into four modern labor laws. Four modern labor laws, out of which Code on Social Security has extended social security benefits. SSB matlab social security benefits, which has extended social security benefits to all the workers. Extended social security benefits to all the workers. प्रोवाइडिंग इससे इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा? अगर इंट्रोडक्शन को थोड़ा एक्सटेंड करना है तो कर सकते हैं. विच हैज एक्सटेंडेड सोशल सिक्योरिटी बेनिफिट्स टू ऑल द वर्कर्स, देयरफॉर प्रोवाइडिंग what the social security provides, GS paper to health, education, etc. Right? I will write a broader thing, like which has provided social security, livelihood, etc. Livelihood, take care economy or taking care of dependents and so on. ये सारी चीजें सच में प्रमोट हुई थी. Social security, livelihood, caring dependents, etc. Okay, so you can write your own introduction, but you must always ensure that your introduction is matching with the question. For example, I could have just written 29 central laws have merged into four modern labor laws, out of which social securities are important. But is it matching? Social security is an important component. No, it's not. Try to understand the significance. That will really help you how to frame an introduction. Significance of Code on Social Security. What is its significance? It has extended social security benefits to all the workers. Earlier, only some privileged workers used to get provident fund, health insurance, etc. Now, every worker is getting social security benefits. So, that is the impact that it has generated, which has extended social security benefit to all the workers. To all the workers. Okay, that's why this is important. Providing social security, livelihood, and care economy. देखना सोशल सिक्योरिटी में ना यहाँ पे भी वेज के बारे में थोड़ा implication है. Like there are 4 provisions, and here it said that in the definition of wage, which says basic pay plus dearness allowance plus retaining allowance, this basic pay must be at least 50% of the total package. Okay, this is what the government has said. Okay, and this is, for example, if they ask me what's the definition of wage, maybe I'll try to first write it in the Code on Social Security. मतलब अगर इसके बारे में पूछता है कि 50% ऑफ द बेसिक पे, तो मैं कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी को कोड करूंगी. अगर डेफिनेशन क्या होता है वेज का पूछेंगे तो आई विल प्रोबेबली गो विद कोड ऑन वेजेस. ओके, but the most of the provisions are actually about ESI and DPF. That we'll discuss. So I'm asking you a question: what is difference between a state insurance and a provident fund? Employee state insurance and provident fund. I think it's better to write about it here. No problem, even if it takes more space. कि मैं थोड़ा अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन करना चाहती हूँ इसके बारे में. See, we have employee state insurance and employee provident fund. So there are certain terms that you must know. Employee state insurance, employee provident fund. And इस provident fund को ना 2 types में देता है. एक तो lump sum के रूप में देते हैं, and that is employee provident fund. और दूसरा होता है employee pension scheme. मतलब after retirement, whatever you and the employer deposited ना, a certain percentage is given as every monthly pension, and a certain percentages is given as a lump sum amount just after your retirement immediately. If it is given monthly after retirement, then that is employee pension scheme, and if it is given as a fund, that is employee provident fund. In the amount in the end, that the percentages they're taken from the company only. Okay. Now we will discuss employee state insurance होता क्या है. I'll tell you. देखना, employee state insurance मतलब स्टेट इंश्योरेंस, एम्प्लॉय स्टेट इंश्योरेंस मतलब देखना, एक हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस स्कीम में देना चाहती हूँ, मैं एक कंपनी का ओनर हूँ, क्या मैं दे सकता हूँ? ऑफ कोर्स आई कैन गिव इफ आई वांट टू. लेकिन गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया कि कुछ एलिजिबिलिटी लेके ये वर्कर्स को उतना सोशल सिक्योरिटी बेनिफिट्स नहीं मिलती है क्योंकि दे आर हैविंग लेस पैकेज. So therefore, these kind of workers तो must definitely get these kind of insurances. This is what government said to company. Government said that देखना, it's your wish. It's optional for the company. If you're a company owner, it is not mandatory. It is optional for you whether you want to give ESI or not. But it is compulsory to give ESI to certain employees. Compulsory for whom? Compulsory if you are having employee whose wage is less than 21,000. If you are a physically handicapped then this limit will change to 25%. Okay, if I am a PWD, physically handicapped. And next, government said that okay, uh, if nahi, government said that see, this is one of the eligibility condition. There are many eligibility conditions. One is this salary के related कि इतने से कम wage है तो company please give him some social security. And then government says that if your company size is more than 10 workers, then only you must be in a position to give such benefits, right? So this is only for companies who are having more than 10 worker size. Compulsory for companies who are having more than 10 workers and also for hazardous company. देखो तुम खुद से ही hazardous हो और social security नहीं दे रहे हो. Even if you have less than 10 workers, if you are a hazardous company, you must definitely give social security. I mean, social security मतलब state insurance, employee state insurance. ये insurance तो तुझे देना ही पड़ेगा. So क्या क्या समझ में आता है employee state insurance में? पहला मुझे याद आती है कि it is optional in nature, but certain things are compulsory again. What are all compulsory? See, if you are for whatever, if a company is having more than 10 workers and if it is a hazardous company, and if an employee is earning less than 21,000 or a PWD in your company is earning less than 25, so in ऐसे employees को तो definitely they must be receiving employee state insurance, health insurance. Okay, चलो हमने देख लिया कि कौन देना चाहिए, क्या देती है. It will give sickness benefit. Like I am a worker in a company, it will give sickness benefit. How much? It's 70% of my wage. 70%, 0.7 को ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं. 70% of my wage will be given as sickness benefit. चलो देना है सही है, लेकिन पैसा कहाँ से मिलेगा? इतना थोड़ा सा कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन होना चाहिए. दैट कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन इज 4%. 4% मतलब एम्प्लॉय दोनों मिलकर 4% हर महीने इकट्ठा करते, ताकि अगर कोई इमरजेंसी सिचुएशन हो, सिकनेस बेनिफिट या फिर स्टेट इंश्योरेंस ऐसे कामों के लिए दे. 4% में 3.25% कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन तो एम्प्लॉयर का ही होगा. सिर्फ 0.75% ऑफ कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन एम्प्लॉय की तरफ से होगा. ओके, परसेंट ऑफ व्हाट? परसेंट ऑफ basic pay that he is receiving. And these are all in percentage of basic pay only. Companies are intelligent. They will not take the total package. They will only take basic pay and calculate all such things. That is about employee state insurance. I want to tell you one thing that let's say I died suddenly, but I contributed 4% every month, and now I'm having a family. My family has a husband who don't even work. My children who go to school, they depend on me. So I have dependents. Maybe my maternal mother, father, they are dependent on me. I need to take care of them. So what to do? In such scenario, the government says to company that 90% of it, 90% of it must be given to my dependents. Okay, this is important. Got it? Mm. Mm. We have finished employee state insurance. Now we need to look into employee provident fund. यहाँ पे भी अगर कोई कंपनी प्रोविडेंट फंड देना चाहती है तो कुछ रिक्वायरमेंट्स होगा ना. डू यू थिंक इट्स मैंडेटरी? मैंडेटरी. I'll tell you eligibility condition, then you may be understanding. देखना, see, it is mandatory if company is having more than 20 workers. स्टेट इंश्योरेंस के लिए 10 वर्कर्स है ना, तो यहाँ पे भी कंपलसरी मैंडेटरी एक ही बात है. इफ अ कंपनी इज हैविंग मोर देन 20 वर्कर्स, तब तो डेफिनेटली मैंडेटरी है, उसको तो पेंशन फंड मिलना ही चाहिए. ऐसे नहीं है कि कंपनी की मर्जी सोशल सिक्योरिटी, आई मीन हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस देना है कि नहीं, ओनली बिलो वेजेस का मिलेगा, या ओनली लोअर वेजेस के लिए एक एग्जेम्पशनरी प्रोविजन, मैंडेटरी प्रोविजन है. ग्रेटर देन 21,000 के लिए नहीं मिलेगा ये. बट इफ यू सी एम्प्लॉय प्रोविडेंट फंड ना, इट्स नॉट दैट. आई एम सॉरी, आई गॉट लिटिल कंफ्यूज्ड. ये सारी चीजें भी सेम ही है. कंपनी फॉर अ कंपनी इट इज ऑप्शनल ऑलवेज वेदर टू हाउ टू टेक केयर ऑफ इट्स एम्प्लॉइज, बट गवर्नमेंट सेज दैट एटलीस्ट कितने कुछ लोग हैं उनके लिए तो मैंडेटरी बनाओ. गवर्नमेंट सेज दैट सी इट शुड बी मैंडेटरी. You are a company who is having size more than 20 workers, and they must definitely receive pension who is earning less than 15,000 per month. Okay, गवर्नमेंट नहीं बताएगी कि चलो कंपनी तेरा कंपनी, अगर तू देना चाहते हो तो दे सकते हो, बट यू नो आई एम मेकिंग कंपल्सरी clauses in my code that these are the vulnerable people. I feel that they must definitely get this health insurance, etc. Government says that if your company is having more than 10 workers, or if you're a hazardous company, then तो less than 21,000 या फिर 25,000 for physically handicapped सैलरी के लोग जो भी है उनको तो definitely we think that you must give this social insurance. Okay, and government also says that you're a company, you must definitely give uh, monthly pension and definitely give monthly pension and lump sum amount after the retirement, but it's optional. And it's compulsory for workers with a company having more than 20 workers, and if a worker has salary less than 15,000. So EPF ना बहुत तरीके में दे सकते हैं actually. It can be given as a 12%. Three ways है. There are three ways in which you can give an EPF actually. एक तो 12%, दूसरा 9%, and दूसरा flat 1,800 rupees. Okay, 12%, 9%, flat 1,800 rupees. अगर एम्प्लॉयर 12% दे रहा है, एम्प्लॉई को भी 12% देना पड़ेगा, तो इक्वल इक्वल पे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होती है बिटवीन एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉई ये परसेंटेज. ओके, इन देन 24% जाएगा. इफ इट इज 12% फिक्स ना, देन 24% जाएगा. 12% एम्प्लॉयर देगा, 12% एम्प्लॉई देगा, तो कुल मिला के 24% जाएगा. And similarly for 9% also, that will be equally split. And if it is a flat 1,800 rupees, it will also split. Because government says that, see, पेंशन के बारे में सोच के हम अभी का जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो नहीं फुलफिल कर पा रहे हैं. इफ अ वर्कर फील्स दैट he wants more money in his hand right now, not after pension, he's a vulnerable worker because he's earning less than 15,000. So government said that he can adopt for lower contribution percentage like 9% or even flat 1,800 rupees. So it will be monthly 3,600, right? So the rest of the money which he choose not to give, he can use it for consumption, boosting consumption expenditure. Okay. Usual trend is that we assume EPF around 12%. तो ये EPS अराउंड 8.3% है. और बाकी मतलब मंथली पेंशन के लिए कंपनी जो देती है 9, 10, 11 अप्रोक्सीमेटली अराउंड 2.7%, अराउंड रफली अराउंड 2.7 और 3%. वो वो तो लमसम जैसे मिल जाते हैं मुझे. ओके, दैट यूजुअली हैपेंस. I mean employer ना बाद में at the time of retirement a major portion it is given as monthly only, and a certain 2 to 3% of that EPF amount which we have collected, that will be given as what? That will be given as a lump sum. Okay. You know what? I would like to tell a funny part that there was a story. If a husband, let's say there's a working husband. Now, I mean, I think I've said you about dependents now. Here, see, there's a story of working husband and working wife. Earlier, the provisions used to be little different, but now in the dependents wala portion, they included the maternal in-laws also. Like the dependents don't even just mean that about my mother and father. Mother in sense, the victims who had died, not only just their mother and father, but also the mother and father of the spouse, mother and father. I mean, I'm just saying that dependents also include my parents, my parents, my grandparents. At the same time, it also includes the parents and grandparents of my spouse also. They're also included. I think I was missing something in the ES and EPF. Gratuity. Gratuity is also provision, na, so I'll write somewhere. What is gratuity? Gratuity is a thank you reward. Uh, of course, everyone knows, but I'm saying it again. It's a thank you reward uh, by the employer to the employee. Why? Why? Because you have served for a long period. That long period is a problem. Earlier, it used to be 5 years. Now, government says that even if you serve for 1 year, it's a long serving. So you must be given gratuity. Thank you reward. Okay. Nice provision. Na? And note that this gratuity is for both. I mean, gig workers ke liye especially they expect gratuity. And for the gig workers, na, it includes both the platform and non-platform workers. What's platform and non-platform? Platform implies you are a gig worker, but you are taking task as per the online application. For example, Swiggy is an online platform where someone who is near to the location will get a notification that they must deliver certain food item. So they will pick up this task and they will collect the order and they will return that order. I mean, deliver that order. But let's say I have a non-platform worker. I'm not working in a Swiggy platform. उतना modernized नहीं. So even then, even if I get my orders through traditional offline channels, even then I should be given gratuity. Doesn't matter whether I'm a platform or non-platform. For gig workers, I'm talking gratuity for gig workers. But the thing is, are they given gratuity? Gig workers, they are not given gratuity. There is no gratuity given to gig workers. This gratuity includes both platform and non-platform.
बट द थिंग इज दैट गिग वर्कर्स दे आर नॉट इवन गिवन ग्रेजुइटी। गिग वर्कर्स को ना ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि एग्जाम्पशन है ये एक, गिग वर्कर्स को ग्रेजुइटी नहीं मिलेगी और गिग वर्कर्स को पेट्रोल रियम्बर्समेंट ऐसे सारी चीजें भी नहीं मिलेगी। ओके, तो गिग वर्कर्स को मिलेगी क्या? सी आई विल राइट दिस पॉइंट अंडर कवरेज। आई विल राइट दैट गिग वर्कर्स दे आर गिवन नाउ एम्प्लॉय सोशल इंश्योरेंस एंड एम्प्लॉय प्रोविडेंट फंड। लेकिन यहाँ पे मैं ग्रेजुइटी बिल्कुल नहीं लिखूंगी, ग्रेजुइटी पेट्रोल रियम्बर्समेंट ये सारी चीजें नहीं मिलेंगी तो मैं नहीं लिखूंगी। ओके, दे आर ऑल्सो कवर्ड, मैं इतना तक लिखूंगी। I'll ask you a question. Is gig applicable for floor wage and universal minimum wage? Of course, he is applicable for floor wage, minimum, universal minimum wage. ये सब gig workers के लिए भी है, floor wage, minimum, universal minimum wage, etc. Okay, great. Next, what can I say in the coverage? Aggregator. Aggregator is just a term that I'm using. It has a simple meaning that, let's say I'm a service. I mean, I'm a delivery agent, gig worker, right? So I'm a user who is using Swiggy app and I ordered. मैं ऑर्डर करूंगी और इसको तो डिलीवर करना है, तो हम दोनों को कौन कनेक्ट करता है? वी आर कनेक्टेड इन अ प्लेटफॉर्म that can be Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon, Flipkart, etc. So we are connected through this app. So these kind of platforms which connect delivery providers, with the users is called aggregator. तो एग्रीगेटर के पास एक सोशल सिक्योरिटी फंड रहेगा ना, सोशल सिक्योरिटी फंड, तो इसमें कंट्रीब्यूट करना चाहिए एग्रीगेटर को अराउंड 1 to 2%, अराउंड 1 to 2% ऑफ देयर टर्नओवर। yes, around 1 to 2% of the turnover that I receive. Turnover imply the revenue that I receive through this delivery platform, right? 1 to 2% of my turnover must be contributed definitely to this social security fund. One thing you need to note that the difference between turnover and profit. So you should never say 1 to 2% of profit here, because profit hota hai revenue minus expenditure, right? This revenue is itself called turnover. So profit includes subtraction of expenditure. But अगर मैं एक्सपेंडिचर को सब्ट्रैक्ट करूंगी और 1 to 2% ऑफ प्रॉफिट करूंगी तो सोशल सिक्योरिटी फंड के लिए कम अमाउंट जाएगा ना। सो गवर्नमेंट स्पेसिफिकली सेइंग 1 to 2% ऑफ टर्नओवर हियर। ओके, यू नीड टू रिमेंबर टर्नओवर। ईएसआई और ईपीएफ का रेगुलेशन काफी स्ट्रिक्ट बनाया गवर्नमेंट ने। नाउ वी आर डिस्कसिंग रेगुलेशंस ना। फर्स्ट देयर इज रैंडम वेब बेस्ड इंस्पेक्शन। जब चाहे तब अचानक इंस्पेक्टर आके वेब बेस्ड रैंडम इंस्पेक्शन करेगा कि कैसे चल रही है सिस्टम, और बहुत ही रैंडम होगा। रैंडम मतलब सरप्राइज अटैक इंस्पेक्शन ऐसे। एंड देन if you're a first time offender, then you might be asked to pay monetary payment. If you're a repeated, then maybe legal punishment. Okay, that's all. तो मैं भी उतना नहीं लिखूंगी, लेकिन अगर तुम फर्स्ट टाइम कर रहे हो कोई ऑफेंस को तो ऑफ कोर्स मॉनेटरी पेनल्टी यू नीड टू पे। दिस इज व्हाट एवरीवन नोस। ओके, एंड देन आल्सो गवर्नमेंट मैंडेटेड फॉर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक रिकॉर्ड कीपिंग। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक रिकॉर्ड कीपिंग लिख दूंगी यहीं पे। So tell me why government emphasize electronic record keeping? Of course, to promote transparency. ये सारी चीजें हम इम्पैक्ट में लिखेंगे सबका मिला के। ओके, तो हो गया कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी। इट इज वेरी वेरी इजी। जस्ट डेफिनेशन ऑफ वेज में एडजस्टमेंट फैक्टर होना चाहिए, एंड देन इट टॉक्स अबाउट थ्री थिंग्स मेनली: ईएसआई, एम्प्लॉय स्टेट इंश्योरेंस, एम्प्लॉय प्रोविडेंट फंड, एंड ग्रेजुइटी। It covers gig workers, and it says that 1 to 2% of the turnover of the aggregator must be contributed to the social security fund. And in case if companies are not doing that, then there's an inspector who will do random web based checking. And if understood that you have committed a first time offense, then of course you need to pay monetary. The second time offense may be repeated. If it is repeated, legal punishment. Everything should be kept transparent in a electronic record keeping. Okay, the fourth code is code on operational safety. Code on operational safety, health and working condition 2020. See, now we need to quickly look into occupational safety, health and working condition. See, I'll tell you how to write an introduction for this. You can start with a simple introduction, like there are more than 47 central laws and more than 100 plus state laws. So we have integrated them into 4 modern labor codes, and one of them is occupational safety, health and working condition. But does that look a significant intro? So I feel that any introduction, rather than being definition based on what it is,
try to be a little significant oriented, you might fetch some extra marks, because I feel an introduction is an opener. Intro is an opener where the examiner, when he reads this, he understands you completely, what you know, what you are going to write, etc. For example, if your introduction is pure database without even explaining significance, examiner will think that you only know data, you don't know the significance, or you're not understanding it. So try to adopt this mindset of understanding the significance or importance of why this thing is important, whatever is asked in the question, or why is it asked, what is the current relevance, ये सब सोचना, brainstorm करना, ठीक है. Now, I'll say that occupational safety, health and working condition, why it is important? Because it balances, mainly. The thing is, it balances worker rights. The safety, health and working condition, the worker rights, ho gaya na? It satisfies workers' rights. Okay, and what else? Business friendly regulation. Workers' right, business friendly regulations. क्योंकि एक तरफ बिजनेसेस को मैनेज करना होता है और एक साइड वर्कर राइट्स, उसका सेफ्टी, ये सब भी मैनेज करना होता है. तो इन दोनों के बीच में ये एक बैलेंस क्रिएट करने की कोशिश करती है, इसलिए ये कोड लेकर आए थे. ओके, दिस इज व्हाट दैट एवरीवन, if you have better significance of OSH, you can write it, and I will start with provisions. See, this act mainly has three categories of provisions. One thing you need to know definitely is who and all this act is covering. And safety and health, well, I mean, heading से समझ में आ रहा है ना, occupational safety, health and working condition. So safety, health and working condition, इसके बारे में एक है. And then we have penalty mechanism. ये तीन provisions फटाफट खत्म कर सकते हैं हम. See, I remember this with a trick actually. 0, 10, 20, and then what? Sorry, not 10, 20. ऐसे, wait. 0, 10, next 20, 40, उसके बाद 50, 50, and then safety, health and working condition में यहाँ पे 500, 50, 500. आफ्टर 5 क्या नंबर आएगा? 6, 7. ये नंबर हमने मिस किया, तो 6 AM to 7 PM. Okay, these are all the numbers I memorized. I'll tell you. I mean, if you remember them in ascending order, it's easy. So yeah, eligibility. Coverage implies, see, who and all are eligible to get safety. I mean, who and all are eligible. So that's what this provision talks about. Covers. This code covers whom exactly? Okay, this code covers any company who is having more than 10 workers. If a company size is more than 10 workers, automatically it must definitely provide safety, health and working condition for the betterment of employees. Okay, but hazardous companies are always the exemption. Hazardous company, even if it is having one worker, it must ensure that one worker is having safety working conditions. Okay, because it's a hazardous environment, right? Especially less than 10, more than 10 से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. Okay, next 2040 मैंने इसीलिए बताया क्योंकि see, factories are also covered under this. There are two types of factories, if you know. We have factories with power and factories without power. If it is a factory with power, then initially it used to be 10 workers, now it got extended to 20. Okay, and if it is a factory without power, up more than 40 workers. So if a factory with power is having more than 20 workers, they are covered under the scheme. And if a factory without power is having more than 40 workers, then they are covered under the scheme. 20, 40 workers. Okay. And 50, this is talking about contract workers. So if a company is having more than 50 contract workers, बहुत हो गया ना, 50 से ज्यादा contract workers, तो उसको permanent employment क्यों नहीं दे देते? क्या चल रहा है? So for that, if a company is having more than 50 workers, it needs to get license from Government of India. Government of India मतलब कोई ministry हुआ होगा, concerned ministry कौन? Ministry of Labor. Okay. तो क्या हो जाएगा? See, I'll tell you one thing. If there's a company of size more than 10 workers, factories मतलब 20 workers, ये क्या है, वो क्या रहा है? See, what happens, you know, if a size of a company is more than 10 workers, then automatically their data will be integrated into centralized database to provide a transparent system so that safety working conditions are ensured. And if it is a factory which is having 20 workers, or factory without power having 40 workers, they must provide working conditions, safe working conditions. For that, you will have a strict survey by Annual Survey of Industries, ASI. ये survey कौन करता है? Is it Ministry of Labor? No, I for I, MOSPI. It is conducted by MOSPI. Okay, Annual Survey of Industries. And also there is unorganized sector who are also covered under a different survey. We also have this ASUSC, Annual Survey of Unincorporated Sector Enterprises. ASUSC, it is a survey by MOSPI. ASUSC survey by MOSPI. So it does survey, and finally it creates a national-wide database for unorganized sector. Mainly it is for unorganized sector. Okay, इनकी safety के लिए भी कोई तो survey होना चाहिए, तो that will be taken care of ASUSC. But if it is for industries, we have ASI. I'm just talking about surveys. Anyways, why do we require a survey for unorganized sector? That's my general question. You know what? More than 50% of GDP is contributed by unorganized sector, if you know. That's why they are important for us. Their survey, their health, working condition, they are important for us. Okay, now let us see next, safety, health and working conditions. यहाँ पे ना I'll talk about companies whose size is more than 500 workers. If a company size is more than 500 workers, they must definitely create a committee, which is a safety committee. If a company size is more than 500 workers, they must create a safety committee. So if a company is having more than 500 workers, they must create a safety committee to ensure the safety of the workers. And after that, I will talk about women workers. इसके safety के बारे में क्या? See, women consent होना चाहिए. Women work consent. This talks about if you are making a woman work less than 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. That means if you are making a woman work after 7 p.m. or before 6 a.m., you need to take a work consent from her. It is not permissible as per law. And again, government also talks about migrant workers. Migrant workers क्या? It talks that if you are making a worker travel from here and there, or else if a worker needs to go his hometown by parallelly doing his work from home, etc., there are many such conditions, right? The company will have migrant workers, so those kind of workers must definitely get travel allowance, and they are eligible under public distribution scheme and various other social sector benefits that we have discussed. They are all applicable even for the migrant workers. Okay, I think you already know the working condition. See, this is about women, but in general, if you want to talk about working hours in any company, the working hours must be 8 hours per day only. 8 hours per day, matlab, how many hours per week? 8, 6 are 48. One day will be weekly holiday. So 8, 6 are 48. 48 hours per week. This is the maximum permissible working hour as per the government. Okay. Okay. Now, next is the penalty. See, my boss, whoever he is, he must know what's happening. कि उसको अवेयरनेस होना चाहिए ये लेबर रिफॉर्म्स के बारे में और सोशल सिक्योरिटी बेनिफिट्स के बारे में, वर्किंग कंडीशंस के बारे में, सेफ्टी कमिटी के बारे में. He needs to know that he is liable if he has violated any of them. Okay. That's one thing. And you know what? For example, let's take a migrant worker. This code also talks that annual holiday must be provided. Annual holiday. Yeah, definitely annual holiday तो मिलना चाहिए. Migrant worker कितना घूमेगा? Rest तो चाहिए ना. So he must definitely get annual holiday. If he is not getting, then see, let's say your boss is very strict and he's not even giving you annual holiday. Then of course you need to do. You need to do a monetary. You need to pay a monetary penalty. Okay, and fine. So how much is this monetary penalty, by the way? It's not a prosecution. It's just a monetary penalty. How much? See, let's say Supreme Court said that this much is the fine amount. But you know, 50% of whatever is decided must also be paid extra. So if a fine amount is decided as 50,000 because you have violated certain safety measures, then extra 50% must be paid as a compensation to the family of a victim, because you have violated the safety of a worker and that worker is having a family. So you need to also provide a certain monetary penalty to victim's family also. Note that just like any other code that we have studied, there is no prosecution here. You are not putting any criminal charges. It's just a monetary penalty, right? Okay. That is, it is compoundable. Compoundable implies can be compromised with money. As much as possible, inspector who facilitate this must ensure that the penalty is monetary in nature. Okay, so these are all the provisions under occupational safety, health and working condition. Now we need to discuss impacts. See, whatever impact are right, they are journalistic in nature. It is applicable to anywhere. Impacts, understanding impact implies understanding importance and significance. So this might be not important for you, but it is important. UPSC is checking this knowledge, and you need to definitely understand what are the impacts and what are the challenges. Okay. So to write impacts of overall labor codes, modern labor codes, what impact they brought. First, I'll try to brainstorm the first labor code for provisions, code on wages. तो वहाँ पे हमने एक triangle draw किया code on wages में, and then we said that the definition of wage rate is given here. We have discussed wage का definition, floor wage, universal minimum wage, and then we have also discussed that there must be a gender parity. There must be a gender parity in the wage rates, and then we have discussed the regulation component here, and we said that timely payment must be there. There must be timely payment, and ऑफ कोर्स वेज दे रहे हो तो उसका टाइमली पेमेंट होना चाहिए, और ओवर टाइम बन जाती है तो 2 टाइम्स द वेज रेट देना चाहिए. ओके, दैट्स द रेगुलेशन. एंड द थर्ड इज द गवर्नेंस. गवर्नेंस इज इंस्पेक्टर हुएवर इज देयर, ही इज द फैसिलिटेटर, राइट. गवर्नेंस वही गवर्नेंस में आती है. इंस्पेक्टर, गवर्नेंस मतलब हमेशा इंस्पेक्टर, ये तो लास्ट एंड फाइनल हो जाएगा. इंस्पेक्टर, ही इज द फैसिलिटेटर हु हैज अ ड्यूअल रोल. वन इज टू डू इंस्पेक्शन एंड द अदर इज टू प्रमोट अवेयरनेस एंड एजुकेशन अबाउट लेबर लॉज टू द स्टेक होल्डर्स इन्वॉल्व्ड, राइट. इंस्पेक्टर का रोल ये रहेगा. और दूसरा क्या, इफ यू आर डूइंग दैट ऑफेंस फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, देन यू नीड टू do a monetary penalty. That is within 5 years. And within 5 years, if you repeat this offense, then you can get legal punishment, which is non-compoundable, cannot be compromised. Okay, so these are all what we have seen. Now we need to understand the impacts for these provisions. Okay, what did it do? It universalized. Technically, it created a uniform base where everyone, all people, all workers, irrespective of whether they are organized or unorganized, or let's say they can be men or they can be women, whoever they are, all workers, they are eligible for, all workers are eligible for floor wage, universal minimum wage, etc. तो ये चीज हमें पता चली. ये इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट हुआ, ठीक है, इसको क्या बोलते हैं, इंक्लूसिव. इट created inclusiveness. Okay, this is the first impact that I can think of. Think ethical, philosophical in nature. Ethical सोचना कि क्या significance हो सकते हैं. significance मतलब इस तरह के टर्म्स यूज करना है एग्जाम में. Okay, and next यहाँ पे भी maybe social security is being promoted. Of course, social security is provided ना. अब wage का definition क्या है, basic pay plus adjustment factor, and you are also giving a certain floor wage, basic necessities दे रहे हो. इसका मतलब social security is promoted ना. Yes, social security is promoted. इट हैज बहुत सारे लेबर कोड्स हुआ करते थे उस टाइम पे, हमने एक साथ इंटीग्रेट करके एक कोड ऑफ वेजेस बना लिया. अब नाउ यू आर हैविंग अ यूनिफॉर्म वेज, मतलब सिंप्लीफाइड, राइट. इफ इट इज सिंप्लीफाइड, you will be having a good ease of compliance. You will be having good ease of compliance. And that time there is era of Inspector Raj. So this era of Inspector Raj got completely shut down. Okay, now there is no such corruption, etc. And therefore what happened, it led to the welfare of employers and employee. Employer क्यों बोलना, employee बोलेंगे. Welfare of employee. How welfare of employee? Because now they don't need to maybe employer don't need to pay fine, right? So it indirectly benefited the employer also. It benefited the employee also because he is getting social security. Employer because he need to don't pay bribe to Inspector Raj. So yeah. And what else impacts can you think of? ये तो बन गया कहाँ पे. These are all from code on wages that we have thought this could have been the impact, right? सोशल सिक्योरिटी कैसे प्रमोट कर रहे हो? सी, ओवर टाइम कोई वर्क करता है तो हम इसको क्या कर रहे हैं, 2 times the wage rate दे रहे हैं, 2 times the original wage rate. So there are many things in the code on wages which improve the social security. Now if I see second industrial relation code, I need to brainstorm what industrial relation code is. Industrial relation code, I remember we drew this industrial relation code, and here first we talked about the definitions of I'll draw it again. We have talked about definitions initially. We talked about the definition of worker. Initially we used to have workman wala definition. Now there is worker definition, and a worker is any person employed in an industry to do manual, technical, skilled, unskilled, operational, clerical, supervisory activities including sales, journalist for hire or reward, right? And industry का definition भी हमने discuss किया. और एम्प्लॉई और वर्कर के बीच में डिफरेंस क्या है वो भी हमने डिस्कस किया. एम्प्लॉईज, वर्कर प्लस मैनेजमेंट. इंडस्ट्री का डेफिनेशन क्या है, इंडस्ट्री मतलब systematic relationship between employer and employee. Okay, that is the definition. And next we have seen provisions related to trade union and strike. We have seen that registration करने के लिए eligibility 7%, minimum तो 7 workers होना चाहिए, and लेकिन हम लेंगे minimum of 10% of the workers in the industry और 100 वर्कर्स, इन दोनों में जो भी मिनिमम है हम उसको कंसिडर करेंगे. एंड देन रजिस्टर, एक ट्रेड यूनियन जैसे रजिस्टर करने के लिए एक क्वालिफिकेशन होना चाहिए, लेकिन बाद में नेगोशिएट करना मतलब यूनियन के प्रॉब्लम्स को बॉस के सामने रखना, ये एक उसके लिए एक नेगोशिएटिंग काउंसिल फॉर्म होती है, उसके नेगोशिएटिंग काउंसिल का एक लीडर बन जाता है. सो इफ यू वांट टू बिकम अ नेगोशिएटिंग काउंसिल, योर स्ट्रेंथ मस्ट नॉट बी लेस देन 21%. सो योर स्ट्रेंथ मस्ट बी मोर देन 21%. एंड if you want to become a part of negotiating union, then your strength must be more than 51%. I mean not less than 51%. Okay, ये सारी चीजें हैं. And उसी में ही there's one more thing. It also talks about strike का definition. Nothing. It just says that if a trade union wants to go for strike, they must take a 14-day prior notice from the boss, explaining with the reason why they are doing that strike. And government also said that if you are doing a mass bunk, it is an illegal strike, and for that illegal strike also you need to take 14-day prior notice from the company. These are all the things that are there. And after the definition and trade union related aspects, we have also seen worker welfare. What did we see? Contract workers working in a company for more than 1 year. That talks about coverage actually. So okay, let's think they're talking about welfare only. So if a contract worker is working more than 1 year, they must receive gratuity and wages in parity with the regular workers. Okay, that is the first thing. If you are a contract worker who worked in the same company for more than 1 year, you must also receive gratuity and wages in parity with the regular workers. And the second provision says that if a worker is terminated, ये contract worker के बारे में हो गया, normal worker welfare, और इसके बारे में क्या है? See, if a worker is terminated, the company must pay 15-day wage, 50% of his wage or 15-day wage as a reskill amount. Reskill amount वाला clause याद है? Yeah, this is the reskill amount. तो contract workers के बारे में है, और reskill amount for the regular workers if in case if you get retrenched or laid off in such scenario. तो ये है, और वो कितने दिन के अंदर अंदर वो reskill amount credit होना चाहिए? Within 45 days. That 50% of his wage must be credited to his account so that he can get training to go into a new company. Okay. एंड डेफिनेशन कवर किया, ट्रेड यूनियन एस्पेक्ट्स कवर किया हमने, कवरेज आई मीन वेलफेयर कवरेज के बारे में हमने डिस्कस किया, रेगुलर वर्कर्स और कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स के बारे में. रेगुलर वर्कर्स रीस्किल अमाउंट इन केस इफ इज रिट्रेंच्ड, एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर इफ ही वर्क्स मोर देन 1 year he need to receive parity and gratuity. He need to receive wages and gratuity in parity with the regular workers. And next, the fourth is the disputes. So in case let's say there is a dispute, because let's say that reskill amount whatever is there, it was not credited in 45 days. So there can be many types of disputes. So if there are disputes, this is a governance related, the last aspect of course. For that we have a 2-member tribunal. That 2-member tribunal, एक तो judicial member होगा और दूसरा administrative member होगा. So what they are going to do, they are going to listen to the dispute and provide justice. Okay, ये चीज है. 2-member tribunal, first provision in the dispute, and the second provision in the dispute वाला clause, or else governance भी बोल सकते हैं इसको. एक तो 2-member tribunal हो गया, and then grievance committee. Grievance committee must be there if a company is having any problems. क्या था first one? 2-member tribunal ना. हाँ. Second, grievance committee. See, let's say there is a woman, her rights are violated in the company, so she must go to grievance committee first, not the tribunal, right? So this grievance committee, whatever is there, it must have 50% women. I mean, women number must be proportional in nature. Okay, just to men. And what else did we see here? We have also seen that if a company size is more than 300 workers, then it need a government permission to terminate. If a company size is more than 300 workers, it requires government permission to terminate or lay off a worker. And next, monetary penalty, the last one. So for minor offenses, as much as possible, it must be a monetary penalty. Okay, so ho gaya 2-member tribunal. What are all there in the governance? 2-member tribunal in case of disputes, and grievance redressal mechanisms. Women must be there proportionally. And then more than 300 workers, if there are more than 300 workers, then government permission must be there to terminate the workers. And what else? Last one is the monetary penalty. Minor offenses should be inflicted with the monetary penalty. तो हमने इतना brainstorm किया अभी. चलो, now let us think of the impacts. What impacts did it bring? Okay, it provided a clarity. That is there. Simplification मतलब clarity है ना. तो ये बन गया कि हमने एक law के अंदर simplify किया, तो ये ही बन गया ना. See, these are all verses the same thing. They created a better clarity. I mean, see, you are having better definition of a worker, better definitions. तो इसका definition wise clarity मिल गया ना. तो मैं ये लिखूंगी थोड़ा different from others. Definition clarity. Workers का definition हो गया, worker का definition, employee का definition, industry का definition. तो definition wise हमको clarity मिल गई. And see, employee और employers के बीच का जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो हमने डेवलप किया, लिटिगेशन को हमने कम किया. See, we are providing a 2-member dispute resolution mechanism, and we are saying that you need to take a 14-day prior notice if you want to go for strike. So all of them, what are they doing? They are reducing the litigations. And they are providing for faster dispute resolutions. Faster dispute resolutions, because you are putting a grievance redressal mechanism, right? And therefore, what's happening? Who is getting benefited? Is employer getting benefited? Yes, employer is definitely getting benefited because it is providing him flexibility. Because see, he knows everything is crystal clear right now. So number of contract workers that must be hired. If more than that, then what are all the extra things that he must do? For example, if there are more than 300 workers, let's say, then he need government permission. So all such things, they're very simplified, and it is easy for him, and it made life easy for the employer itself, right? This is also one thing we can think of. I can also say one thing, by providing these many rights to the worker, his bargaining power of worker, it improved. Okay, वर्कर बोलेगा अभी मैं स्ट्राइक करूंगा क्योंकि वो लीगल बन गया, अभी स्ट्राइक करना इलीगल नहीं है, तो इसकी वजह से वर्कर का बार्गेनिंग पावर तो इंप्रूव हो ही गया, है ना। दैट्स ऑल। वर्कर वेलफेयर तो वी ऑलरेडी रोट ना, वेलफेयर ऑफ एम्प्लॉयर, यहाँ पे भी वर्कर भी लिख लेना। ओके, दिस आर ऑल द इम्पैक्ट्स दैट आई कैन थिंक ऑफ। एंड नेक्स्ट वी हैव सीन कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी। वहाँ पे क्या डिस्कस किया हमने? वेट अ सेकंड। Okay, now we need to brainstorm code on social security. That code, it extends the social security benefits to all the workers. Like wage का definition, उसमें adjustment factors, तो basic pay हमने ये बताया कि 50% of the total package होना ही चाहिए. And then code on social security में क्या डिस्कस करते हैं? EPF, ESI, gratuity, ये सब डिस्कस किया हमने. And then we have discussed the coverage. हमने ये डिस्कस किया कि gratuity और पेट्रोल रियम्बर्समेंट गिग वर्कर्स को नहीं मिलेगी, लेकिन गिग वर्कर्स को ESI, EPF, यूनिवर्सल मिनिमम वेज, फ्लोर वेज, ये सब मिल जाएगा. दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव सीन. एंड we have also seen that aggregator must keep 1 to 2% of the turnover aside to the creation of social security fund. Okay, this is all, what we have seen. And we have also discussed about the regulation. Regulation के बारे में हमने क्या डिस्कस किया? रेगुलेशन, गवर्नेंस, ये सब लास्ट पार्ट यही है ना. तो क्या डिस्कस किया वहाँ पे? रैंडम वेब बेस्ड इंस्पेक्शन हो सकती है, क्योंकि एज वी कैन सी सोशल सिक्योरिटी एवरीथिंग इज ऑनलाइन नowadays, सो रैंडम वेब बेस्ड इंस्पेक्शन होगा कि वर्कर को सोशल सिक्योरिटी मिल रही है कि नहीं. इन केस इफ इट इज नॉट एज मच एज पॉसिबल फर्स्ट टाइम ऑफेंस, इट इज मॉनिटरी इन नेचर. एंड इफ इट इज रिपीटेड, ऑफ कोर्स इट मे बी imprisonment, but they can compromise to monitor if they want to, etc. These are all the provisions that we know. Now we need to see what are the impacts. क्या है ESI, EPF से क्या बन गई? अब तो सोशल सिक्योरिटी बढ़ गया ना. वी हैव रिटन हियर ओनली. ओके, ग्रेट. वर्कर वेलफेयर प्रमोट हुआ, वी हैव रिटन हियर. सोशल सिक्योरिटी के साथ साथ इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी भी बढ़ गया ना, ये यहीं पे लिख लेते हैं, क्योंकि सी for example, we are saying adjustment factor. Now that is having 50%. I mean, it will ensure that 50% of the total package is basic pay. In case you become very old. So it's a scenario, of course, you must get a proper monetary compensation. Not compensation. You need to get proper monetary reimbursement so that you can sustain yourself in your olden days. So this is economic security. Impact is just that it promotes economic security, worker welfare, etc. This is one impact that I can think from the code on social security. Nothing much I can think of right now. एंड या हमने एक और चीज डिस्कस किया, याद है कि दे हैव रिड्यूस्ड इट टू 18% और 9% और दिस 1800 रुपीज, 1800 फ्लैट 1800 रुपीज और 12% और 9%. इससे क्या बन जाएगा बताओ? इससे सिंपल यही है कि this is like 3 table, na? 3 3s are 9, 3 4s are 12, 3 6s are 18, whatever. I'm just saying that this, in case a worker takes 1800 rupee wala option, that increases flexibility for the employer, and also it will boost the consumption expenditure. तो impact में मैं ये भी लिख सकती हूँ ना, it will boost consumption expenditure because there is more flexibility in EPF contribution percentages. EPF से मुझे एक चीज याद आया कि सोशल कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी में मैं यहाँ पे बताना भूल गई कि we even have right now EPF 3.0 reforms. So this EPF 3.0 reforms, the system is rolling out in phases. For example, this one, there has not yet been national-wide launch. There is no national-wide launch. It is not yet over. It is in the phase-wise, step-wise process. Okay. For example, it has provisions like क्या करती है EPF 3.0? You know what EPF 3.0 do? See, what does it do mean? Now you are having currently paper heavy transaction. If you want to draw out a provident fund, I mean, if you want to draw your pension money, government will send you, but they are all paper documents, and everyone is getting very irritated. That is why government came up with digitalization. Okay, EPF 3.0 is completely about digitalization. Digitalization implies now if you want to draw out your cash money, you can directly go to ATM, use your ATM card and draw your pension amount, or directly you can use your UPI. UPI, you know what? Your ATMs are integrated with UPI nowadays. Using your ATM card, you can connect with UPI also, and directly you can draw out money from the UPI, your GPay, from your GPay account, or pension money. They can directly fall into your UPI account. So we are having dedicated provident fund ATM cards also, and this system, therefore, it is trying to process around 95% of the claims. Whatever provident fund, pension fund claims are there right now, the system is trying to make sure that 95% of all these pending claims, they are automatically processed. Paperwork reduce करेंगे हम, इस तरह की approach अपनाएंगे. This is what government is planning. तो मैक्सिमम कितना तक विथड्रॉ कर सकते हैं अगर कोई एम्प्लॉई विथड्रॉ करना चाहते हैं? फॉर एग्जांपल, लेट्स से आई डोंट वांट टू वेट फॉर माय रिटायरमेंट बिकॉज राइट नाउ आई डोंट इवन हैव मनी एंड आई एम जॉबलेस, बट आई हैव ऑलरेडी वर्कड बिफोर एंड दैट कंपनी हैज sent a certain provident fund to my account, but now I want to access it. And literally there is a lot of paperwork if I want to access that money. And so now the government, what is it doing? It is saying that if you want to advance your claims, you can draw out money immediately. Withdrawals, they can happen. Withdrawals can happen. Okay. Up to 75%. in case you are unemployed, up to 75% you can easily withdraw. And also you have 25% dollar clause. See, 75% only you can withdraw. That means 25% it is a lock-in. You cannot withdraw. Even if you are unemployed, you cannot lock in this 25%. I mean, you cannot withdraw this 25. Only 75% is the amount that you can withdraw right now. Okay. Now I'm saying you can withdraw 75%, right? But that 75% will be max up to 5 lakh only. And once you start this process, they will immediately fall into your bank account within 3 days. Okay. What is this 5 lakh called? Auto settlement limit. तो इतना फास्ट इंटीग्रेशन के लिए बहुत पेपर वर्क फिर से चाहिए होता है ना कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए. They are going to directly ask you your Aadhaar. For your KYC, know your customer, they are going to just ask your Aadhaar. You will get a OTP, and this is all to it for your KYC. So you don't need to deal with the physical forms, regional office, etc. And therefore, this will ensure pension flexibility, digital reforms. EPF 3.0 implies digital reforms for pension flexibility. Okay, that's all. This is one implication for EPF 3.0, and maybe I can write this one more point in impact, that there is a pension flexibility. Okay, great. I have a doubt. In the industrial relation code, we have seen grievance redressal, and also we have seen dispute. What's the difference between grievance and a dispute? This is for your info. What is the difference between a grievance and a dispute? Grievance is an expectation, okay? You are expecting that your need will be fulfilled. You are a woman and an employee, your rights are being violated, but you want to work there. There is no dispute between two parties. You are expecting certain things. That is expectation, and for that redressal, you are having a grievance redressal mechanisms. What is dispute? You are having a severe conflict, or you're facing challenges, legal challenges. For that, you're having dispute. So the first point in the challenges I understand is digital divide. Digital divide imply, see, there are some advanced states and there are some poor states. Advanced states and poor states. So what's the difference between both advanced states and poor states? I'll tell you. Advanced states का example हो जाएगी कर्नाटका, गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र, and poor or smaller states will be West Bengal, Northeast, etc. So what's happening between advanced states and poor states? Batao. See, advanced states, they are having advanced modern mechanisms, computer systems, etc. So they don't need to deal with the paperwork. But poor states like Bihar, West Bengal, etc. What is happening with the Bimaru states? They need to rely on lot of paperwork. So if you're relying on lot of paperwork, of course, implementing labor reforms will take lot of time for implementing labor reforms. But these people, they are modernized. Therefore it will take their reforms are fast-paced reforms, fast-paced labor reforms. This is one challenge. First one, that is digital divide. Why there is uncertainty in implementation? That's also one challenge, because see, why? Because I'll tell you. I'll tell you with an example. Employer, they don't know. Employers don't know about inspection protocols. It is just saying random web-based inspection. ये क्या होता है? Inspection protocol. So employer don't know exactly. For example, let's say there's an inspection where suddenly an inspector comes to check if everything is all right. But at that time, my employee, he is on a vacation, or else I am on a vacation when he came to check. So this is very random. Employer must. That is one challenge. There's an uncertainty in implementation. Okay. No one has a. I mean, there's a little dilution of clarity, and the data collection techniques, whatever are there, they must be developed. See, for example, we are saying that better labor reforms must be there. So for that, you need to know the data, how many workers are working in a company and how many companies are there in India. Okay, you know the company, but you don't know the exact number of workers that are working, and you don't know the real-time data. That is important. See, let's say I have collected data, but I have a data, but that data is very outdated. Now, based upon the real-time analysis, the workers keep on changing. They might shift to some other company. So I need a real-time data, not a stagnated data, first of all. So I need better implies I need better data collection techniques. Okay, I need a better data collection techniques. You know MSMEs, right? अगर हम MSMEs के ऊपर भी ये जोर लगाएंगे कि you are having more than 100 workers, चलो, you need to provide social security benefits right now. हाँ, let's say MSME, it is easily having more than 10 workers. Now it should also provide social security benefits, right? So it will increase the cost of production burden. It will increase the burden to companies which are developing, like MSMEs, because why? They are they need to maintain compliance. with health checkup, social security, housing allowance, whatever the government is saying. There's one more burden, like maintaining the balance. See, maintaining the balance between worker welfare and employer's flexibility is also a challenge. Social security code and social security tries to do this, but maintaining that balance becomes very challenge becomes a big challenge. Okay, and also, there is always this lack of awareness about the labor rights. Even the worker don't know and employer also don't know that these rights must be there. For example, how many of the gig workers know that they are getting EPF and ASI? Do you really think they know? They know that they can get the pension after the retirement, the delivery wala. Do you think they know? I don't think they have that much of awareness. So awareness should be provided. That must be improved. Okay, and next what? And also, what's happening? Inspectors, they are sometimes going with extreme punishments. See, they are using certain legal loopholes and they're going with extreme punishments. So, see, you don't need to go with extreme punishment. For example, even in compliance with health, let's say this is happening actually, to maintain in compliance with health. If a company is not maintaining, if a company is not giving, let's say, ESI, then what's going to happen? What is ESI? एम्प्लॉय स्टेट इंश्योरेंस, उसमें 70% सिकनेस बेनिफिट मिलती है ना। तो अगर कंपनी वो नहीं दे रही है, नाउ इंस्पेक्टर्स आर कमिंग सडनली एंड दे आर डूइंग इंस्पेक्शन एंड दे आर imposing extreme punishments. So this is becoming a challenge. So this should not be used, and instead we must, if it is a normal offense, just go for what? Just go for monetary penalty. That will be enough, right? So yeah, these all things must be taken care of. And inspector यहाँ पे क्या बोलेगा? कि मुझे ब्राइब देना, ये एक्सट्रीम पनिशमेंट हटाऊंगा, ये सब हो रही है। दिस मीन्स इंस्पेक्टर राज माइट स्टिल बी हैपनिंग। ओके, सो ये एराडिकेट नहीं हुआ होगा। So these are all the impacts and challenges. I hope you really liked this session. फटाफट 10 मिनट में रिवाइज करवा लेती हूँ। सी फर्स्ट वन इज व्हाट? कोड ऑन वेजेस। कोड ऑन वेजेस में वेज का डेफिनेशन हमें पता है, बेसिक पे प्लस डेयरनेस अलाउंस प्लस रिटेनिंग अलाउंस प्लस एडजस्टमेंट फैक्टर। वेज डेफिनेशन इज देयर एंड इट आल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट फ्लोर वेज एंड यूनिवर्सल मिनिमम वेज। फ्लोर वेज, it is fixed by the central government for maintaining standard of living, and universal minimum wage, it is for job requirements, to adjust with the job requirements. It can be fixed by the central government or state government. And after floor wage and universal minimum wage, did we see anything else there? We have also seen that wage, this must maintain gender parity. This must have a gender parity. Okay, and afterwards, actually we have seen triangle, na? Triangle square ऐसा कुछ है। Code on wages is a triangle. Okay, second one what we have discussed, regulation मतलब देखो, वेज दे रहे हो लेकिन उसका टाइमली पेमेंट होना चाहिए। अगर ओवर टाइम मुझसे काम करवा रहे हो तो मुझे डबल द वेज रेट मिलना चाहिए। ओके, दैट इज द सेकंड। एंड व्हाट इज द थर्ड इज गवर्नेंस और रेगुलेशन रिलेटेड। सिंपली पुटिंग, सी इंस्पेक्टर जो होगा वो ड्यूअल रोल प्ले करेगा। एक तो इंस्पेक्शन करना उसका काम है, और दूसरा अवेयरनेस एंड एजुकेशन प्रमोट करना। फॉर व्हाट? अवेयरनेस एंड एजुकेशन ऑफ टू बोथ एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉई अबाउट द राइट्स that a worker or that an employer should provide. Okay, and that's the first thing in the governance. And also it says that if it is a first time offense committed within the 5 years, then monetary penalty. But that offense, if you repeat it again for the repetitive offense, there will be a legal punishment which is non-compoundable, cannot be compromised. This is what we have studied in the code of wages. And after that we have discussed industrial relation code. Triangle के बाद quadrilateral. Okay, definition we have seen 3 definitions. Definition of a worker, employee and industry. Worker का definition क्या है? Any person employed in an industry to do manual, technical, skilled, unskilled, operational, clerical, supervisory activities including sales, journalist for hire or reward. Okay, that is the definition of a worker. And then what is the definition of employee? Employee is worker who is also involved in the management related aspects, which has a holistic coverage. And next, industry. What is the definition of industry? Systematic relationship between employer and employee and worker. Okay, employee worker और employer के बीच में जो भी systematic relation है उसको हम बोलते हैं industry. So that's there are 3 definitions which you must know. 3 main definitions, and it also has trade union and strike related aspects. What are they? See, it talks about registration of a trade union. एक registration होना चाहिए, उसके लिए minimum 7 workers होना चाहिए उस trade union में registration करने के लिए, या फिर 7% sorry 7% नहीं 10% और 100 workers, इन दोनों का एक minimum value होना चाहिए, और वो minimum value 7 workers से down नहीं होना चाहिए। उसके बाद क्या क्या है इसमें? Here we have also seen that if you want to become a negotiating union, or if you want to become a negotiating council, member of negotiating council, I mean negotiate करने के लिए एक negotiating council form होना चाहिए, है ना? तो उसका strength 21% से ज्यादा होना चाहिए। negotiating union का strength 51% से ज्यादा होना चाहिए, तभी वो negotiate करके बॉस के सामने कुछ रख सकती है। ओके, ये strength होना चाहिए registration के बाद negotiating council या फिर union बनाने के लिए। and then what next? If these negotiating union finally they think that they want to go for strike, they must give a 14-day prior notice to the employer. And if they want to do mass bunk, which is an illegal strike, then also they need to give 14-day prior notice with the reasoning why they are doing so and so things. Okay, that's all. And next, what else? We have also discussed what is the third component in here. The third component, it is about worker welfare. See, we have talked about the three definitions, and we have talked about trade union related aspects, and then what did we see? The third thing is welfare related. Welfare related मतलब welfare के लिए industrial relation code क्या बता रही है? It is talking about welfare of regular worker and contract worker. If you are a regular worker and if a company terminates you suddenly, it must provide you reskill amount that must be equal to 15-day wage or 50% of your salary. That is nothing but 15-day wage only. Contract worker. If a contract worker works more than 1 year, then he must receive wage and gratuity in parity with a regular worker of a industry. Okay, इन दोनों की parity होना चाहिए. That is the third component. And what is the fourth component? Fourth component is dispute related. See, if you are a in some dispute, I mean, let's say, see, there are 4 clauses as far as I remember. One is talking about a dispute. In case if there is any dispute, there is a 2-member tribunal. One member is an administrator, and another member is judicial officer who will take care of this dispute. And the second is about grievance. In case if there is any grievance, there is a grievance redressal body, and that body must have women representation proportionally. And after that, we have seen if a company is having more than 300 workers, it need to take government permission before laying off. Government permission is required before layoff if it is having more than 300 workers. And the last one is about offenses. In case there are any minor offenses, the penalty there must be a monetary penalty. Okay, these are all the 4 things. And the last one is code on social security. Okay, code on social security. I think अब तक हम सिर्फ क्वाड्रिलेटरल से ही देख रहे हैं ना. कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी क्वाड्रिलेटरल है, लास्ट वन ट्रायंगल हो जाएगी. या कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी भी ट्रायंगल क्वाड्रिलेटरल ही है. ट्रायंगल क्वाड्रिलेटरल क्वाड्रिलेटरल ट्रायंगल. ओके, यहाँ पे क्या है? कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी में वेज की डेफिनेशन में वो बेसिक पे में एडजस्टमेंट होना चाहिए. 50% ऑफ must be 50% of the total package must be the basic pay. That's all. And then it talks about ESI, EPF, and gratuity. Okay, what is ESI? Employee state insurance. Eligibility क्या है? More than 10 workers. What is EPF? कंपनी का साइज more than 10 workers होना चाहिए. ESI ESI देने मतलब अगर कंपनी के साइज more than 10 workers है तो उसको कंपल्सरीली ESI देना ही चाहिए. किसको देना चाहिए कंपल्सरीली? फॉर पीपल who are earning less than 21,000. Okay, ये yes और 121 जैसे दिख रही है ना. Sorry, I lost my pace. So we are discussing about EPF, ESI, and gratuity. In the gratuity, we are just seeing that EPF का eligibility क्या है? More than 10 workers, and if a company is having more than 10 workers, definitely it must provide ESI, अरे wage. Okay, ESI, EPF, gratuity. ये order है ना? ESI में क्या है? See, if a company is having more than 10 workers, so definitely it must provide ESI to workers who are earning wage less than 21,000. Okay, ये है. And उसके लिए कितना contribution देगी कंपनी? 4% must be given. उसमें 3.25% by the employer and 0.75% by the employee, right? And next we have EPF. EPF में क्या है? EPF it is for workers who are earning more than EPF is for EPF is for companies who are having more than 20 workers. And यहाँ पे कंपनी का साइज कितना होना चाहिए? It must have more than 20 workers. And अगर कंपनी के साइज more than 20 workers होगा तो क्या होगा? It must definitely provide EPF to who? To people who are earning less than 15,000. Okay, F से ये 15 याद आ रही है मुझे, तो मैं less than 15,000 लिख दूंगी. Okay, यहाँ पे less than 21,000 के लिए कंपल्सरीली ESI होना चाहिए. ग्रेजुइटी if you are working earlier it used to be more than 5 years मतलब gratuity, इसको हटा के हम if you are working more than 1 year in any company, you must definitely receive gratuity, no matter you are a contract worker or a normal worker, doesn't matter. Okay, ये ESI, EPF and gratuity के बारे में हमने डिस्कस किया. EPF ESI के लिए क्या है? 4% है ना, 4% contribution. EPF के लिए 3 ways है. It can be 12% or 9% or 1800. Employee can choose whatever he want. If an employee choose 1800 वाला, then company will also contribute 1800 from its side. And finally, that EPF will be given in the form of EPS, employee pension scheme, and EPF lump sum. Okay, तो ये बन गया वेज, और दूसरा ESI, EPF and gratuity, and तीसरी वाला क्या है? कवरेज. So what does it cover? Whom does it cover? It covers the gig workers also. I mean, it covers all the workers, including the gig workers. They are also getting EPF, ESI. But one thing you need to note down is that they are not getting gratuity and petrol reimbursements. And aggregator, he must put at least 1 to 2% of his turnover, 1 to 2% of his turnover into social security fund, so that gig workers are given EPF, ESI, etc. And then the final one would obviously be the regulation wala thing. See, what random, there will be a random web-based inspection. That is first thing. And the next thing is that if there is a first time offense, of course there will be penalty, and second time offense maybe you can go for imprisonment. And then but you must ensure that as much as possible it is monetary in nature, penalty is monetary in nature. And next there must be transparency in the system, electronic record keeping must be there. And regulation में मैंने एक चीज डिस्कस करना भूल गई कि vacancies report must be on the public platform. Let's say there's a company, so that company must publish its vacancy report in the public platform. For example, let's say I went for a job to a company and that company resigned me. So government must know so and so reasons why this person is not getting employed. What are the reasons? Are you just ensuring that you should have less than 100 workers, and are you hiring contract workers? Is it like that? Why he is not qualified? So all such things must be maintained openly with the government. लास्ट वन इज ऑक्यूपेशनल सेफ्टी हेल्थ एंड वर्किंग कंडीशन कवरेज. इट कवर्स मैंने बताया ना 0 10 फैक्ट्री का 20 40 विद पावर विदाउट पावर एंड देन आई हैव सेड फॉर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स इट इज 50 ईयर. या आई थिंक आई हैव सेड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स का भी यहाँ पे बताया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स 50 एंड यहाँ पे क्या है कवरेज सेफ्टी एंड वेलबींग में मैंने बताया कि if a company size is more than 500 there must be a safety committee and then I've said remember 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. 7 p.m. like that, right? Okay, if there is a hazardous company definitely it is covered under OSH, and if a company size is more than 10 workers it is covered under OSH. If it is a factory having if it is a factory with power and having more than 20 workers then it is covered. Factory having more than 40 workers without power it is covered. Contract workers, if a company is having more than 50 contract workers it need to get a license from the government, so these are all under coverage of OSH, who all come under OSH. Safety and well-being, if a company size is having more than 500 workers definitely it must have a safety committee, and if safety committee if more than 500 workers. And next, what else did we see? We have also seen that what else did we see? 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. If a woman is working above 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. then definitely there must be a woman work consent. Consent must be taken from her. And next, normal working hours time क्या है? It is 8 hours per day. That means 8 6 are 48 hours per week. Okay. And next, what? Is that all that we discussed in the safety and well-being? Migrant worker के बारे में भी हमने डिस्कस किया ना, या क्या डिस्कस किया हमने, मुझे याद नहीं आ रही है. आई जस्ट थिंक दैट माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स के बारे में भी हमने यहाँ पे डिस्कस किया. सी माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स दे मस्ट गेट एनुअल हॉलिडेज, they must get all the social security benefits schemes etc. They must get a travel allowance also, they must get annual holidays also etc. All these things we have discussed. So safety well-being के बाद तीसरा is penalty. As much as possible penalty must be monetary in nature. So I hope you really liked all the full modern labor codes. Thank you very much.